the masses. How you doing? Today's Wednesday, August 24th, 237 days into the new year. Just 129 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I am your oh-so-humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Winding up our week one of 2 weeks of pure UFO coverage right here on Fade to Black. Tonight, we have very special guests with us. And I've been saying it, man. Pull this guy out of an alleged retirement. Anthony Sanchez is here, joining us, and we'll be discussing his book, UFO Highway, the Dulce Base. We're going to cover gray aliens, UFOs, underground bases around the country, and everything else that you can imagine. Tomorrow night is another Fader night with John Rappaport. Open lines all night long. John will be here with his No More Fake Newsroom. The call-in number tonight, as in every night, is 323-825-5045. You can follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio, Facebook, YouTube. Everything is Fade to Black. You know what to do. Just go follow, like, and subscribe over on the website. Click on those three little buttons. You can also email throughout the show tonight, Jimmy at JimmyChurchRadio.com. In Twitter, use hashtag F2B for the sandbox. Hashtag F2BQ are questions for either myself or the guest. I keep Twitter live continuously to my left throughout the show. Very simple. All right. Support all of our sponsors. CCCP Publishing, our newest sponsor here at Fade to Black. Just click on their banner right now, Jimmy Church Radio, and order Future Esoteric by author Brad Olson for just $12.97, a very special Fader Not price. And when you do and use the promo code Jimmy, they will throw a free book in the box just for you Fader Nots. Also, Life Change Tea. Yes, Ronnie McMullen will be here tomorrow night for Fader Night, taking your calls and talking about Life Change Tea and his product range over there. Speaking to Ronnie today on the phone, and I took my daily dose with him live on the phone. Today, I took this 30 days, Rita and I are doing Eighth Element. We are doing Pine Bark Extract and his newest product, Allison C. And Allison C, each capsule contains up to 40 cloves of garlic. And that's what I'm doing for the next 30 days, and I'll keep you posted. I feel great. Just go to Life Change Tea, click on the banner. That'll take you to getthetea.com. Just use the promo code Jimmy when you order. You'll get free shipping. Also, of course, Studio Dome and their Fade or Not special. 2 SBB2 speakers and power for just $129 in a hard shell case with power supply, everything that you need. Just use the promo code JCRTWS when you order, and you'll get 60% off the normal price of $399. That is $129 all in. Use that promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. Best deal on the net. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to absolutely nobody. Nope, not today. And see, this is, look, for everybody out there, and I love it when I get those comments. Dude, man, what kind of paranormal show is this, man? You're doing happy birthday stuff to celebrities. No, I'm not doing happy birthday stuff to celebrities. They are not randomly just thrown up there. These are people that are cool, that have changed my life. And this show was done for me, not for you. Always remember that. All right? So today, there were no birthdays in the history of man that mattered to me. But one, Kenny Baker. He's our dead guy's birthday today, 1934 to 2016. Died at the age of 81. Now listen, he played R2-D2 in all of the Star Wars films. Baker stood only 3'8" tall. But his parents, by the way, full size, right? Full editions, full human edition. But he was 3'8". And he also starred in The Elephant Man, Time Bandits, Willow, Flash Gordon, Amadeus, and he was in Jim Henson's Labyrinth. Baker had been invited to attend the premiere of Star Wars The Force Awakens in Los Angeles back in December 2015, but he was too ill to travel to the United States. Instead, he attended the film's premiere in London. He later met up with Lucas for the last time in Manchester. Baker died on August 13th, 2016, just 11 days before his 82nd birthday, which is today. Yeah, happy birthday, Kenny Baker. On this day in history, strange one, in 79 A.D., Vesuvius erupts. Yeah. And isn't it strange that Italy had that huge, devastating earthquake yesterday? There you go, on this day in history. Fader fact. This is for all of, I'm an Anglophile, right? Check this out. Queen Elizabeth II was courted by Prince Philip when he was 18. She was 13. Should be illegal, right? Well, let's do the double jeopardy on this one. They're also cousins. Isn't that 2 crimes committed? Prince Philip, 18. She was 13. Just feels dirty. Tonight, Anthony Sanchez is here. We're going to be talking about the Dulce bass. Hey, wait till you, if you haven't read his book, UFO Highway, which I have right here in front of me. Thank you, Anthony, for bringing this to me up in Sacramento. But if you haven't read it, you need to read it. Just go to ufohighway.com, get yourself a copy. And tonight we're going to do it all. Gray aliens, UFOs, underground bases, and everything else that you can think of. It's going to be covered tonight, and very excited to finally have Anthony on the show. Tomorrow night, another Fader Night, open lines with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom. The call-in number is 323-825-5045. So earlier today, I got back into the Mandela effect. And, let me back up. Let me just say this. We have an announcement that we're going to make over the, I'm going to say probably by the beginning of the week next week. But it involves, the show and our website and some things that we're doing special for you guys. And so I'm working in the bunker on this project. And it's taken me, all day, every day, getting stuff set up. A lot of work. And so while I was doing this, I saw a couple of tweets and I saw a couple of posts, and then I got an email all at about the same time about the Mandela effect and the phone call that shocked me a few weeks ago about the JFK assassination. And so it got me going again. And the point that was being made, and what is strange here, and you need to go with me on this, this came from like 4 different people. Okay, so 4 different people were compelled enough that listened to that show, and I think it was a Fader Night, actually. Listened to that show, went and started doing their own research on the JFK assassination, and then started posting back. And there was a couple of tweets that went out last night. So I don't know what is going on that everybody was motivated at the same time, but that's a mystery in itself, right? So I went back and I recalled the phone call and my reaction to it, which was how many people, the context of the phone call was how many people were in the limousine when JFK was shot. And so I'm thinking to myself with my mind at the time, well, there was 4, right? And obviously there was Jackie O and John in the back seat. But John Connolly, the governor of Texas, was in that car somewhere. I know that because he got hit by the other bullet. That's what my memory says. And then the limo driver, and that Connolly was in the front seat. right? And the other part for me that I remember, especially over the last few years, with the anniversary of the assassination and the different documentaries that were presented, not only on television but on the web and stuff, about Greer, the limo driver, being the assassin, and that he had turned around and shot Kennedy, right? Okay, so that's part of it. So in all of that, Greer sitting in the driver's seat and having to lean over and shoot Kennedy, and all of this. So, it's 4. 4 is the number, 4. And then it was revealed on the show that there were 6. And I was like, wait a minute, it couldn't have been 6. How were there 6? There was only 4. And I went in real time during the show and went and pulled up all of the pictures of the assassination. And the Zapruder film, which I had watched a bazillion times. I don't know why I remember 4. I don't, especially with how many times I saw the Zapruder film. I go back and rewatch, and I did today, by the way, as well, which now clearly shows 6, right? And I go today, and somebody mentioned something about a Life magazine thing, and so I jump on the web. And I actually find the Life magazine article with JFK on the cover about the assassination. So I go and I find that. And as I'm reading that, and I'm looking at the pictures of the limo in Life magazine, it's a 4-seat limo. It's got the back seat, Jackie O's flowers in the front, or in the front of the back seat, and then the front seats of the car. It's a 4-seat car. No jump seats, no third row. Now, I don't understand what's going on here. And I tried in the Life magazine article, I read the whole thing. There were no comments about the limousine. It's not there. It's not in the article. And the front page of the article shows the 4-seat car. And so I spent all day looking at this. I'm just trying to figure out in my mind's eye where this cloudiness, this difference in memory started. I don't understand. And I posted over on Facebook, and you can go to my Facebook page, my personal page, and I posted the Life magazine shot. And it's right here. It says the assassination of President Kennedy. And it's a high-res scan. You can blow this up, which I have done, and you can read the copy. It's a very clean scan. And if you want to enlarge the picture that I posted, it's perfectly clear. It's an amazing shot. But it is of a 4-seat car. I went on the web today, and I looked at different videos and picture selections of all of Kennedy's limousines. And I'm more than confused as to what really is going on and what is playing out. The 4-seat limousine that is here in the Life magazine picture is not in the motorcade. I looked at the motorcade. I didn't see it. So I don't know if it was in Dallas, Texas, and just wasn't part of the motorcade and it was somewhere else. What I'm saying is maybe Jackie O rode in this 4-seat car somewhere else in Dallas after the assassination and carried the flowers with her. I don't see how that would make sense. But how would the flowers get in the back seat of this car? And why would they have this car? Because clearly what they're implying, Life magazine, is this is the car that Kennedy got shot in. It's right here. It says the assassination of President Kennedy. And there's the picture of the car. There's all the debris in the front seat. And there's the flowers that she was holding in the back seat. And clearly that's what they're trying to imply here. But I don't understand the 6-passenger, 3-row car that is in. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't understand what is going on here. My head is swimming. And so what I posted on Facebook was it's very simple. I said, the Mandela effect. Well, how many people do you remember? Oh, I put to you. I'm going to edit my own Facebook post right here in real time. Let's see. Let's change that to do. It just shows you how much of a doofus I am. How many people do you remember being in the JFK car during the assassination. I remember 4, which doesn't mean much because my brain and memory are way too distorted. But here is a photo and the cover from Life magazine, which shows the car and the flowers that Jackie O was holding, taken right after the fatal shots. But everything today shows a different car with 6 people. I'm so confused. I need your help. What do you remember? And the post started flying. It's a pretty active thread right now, and it's divided. I'm going to say it's divided with all of the posts and replies between 4 and 6. And a lot of people have said 5, right? It's a bizarre thing. I don't know how to wrap my head around this. This is an example of when we're talking about the Mandela effect and the possibility of our timeline, being altered. Something strange has happened in this last 50 years that has, been changed. And I don't know if some of it was changed, if all of it was changed, why some of us remember one thing and some of us clearly remember another. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And is it part of, and this is where I'm trying to be fair here and not try to say that this is some kind of crazy alternative view universe bizarro thing. I don't know. But let's just say this. Is this where the evidence is presented for all of us that our memories cannot be dependable? We have our memories, right? And we can witness things and we can see things, but what we see and what we remember are 2 different things. Okay? Is this an example of that? Because if somebody would, if none of this evidence was presented to me, right, and I got plucked off the street and I was put on a witness stand, and they were testing, and they were just checking. And they came to me and said, hey, how many people were in the JFK limousine when he was killed? And I would say, well, I remember 4. I remember Kennedy, I remember Jackie O, and I remember 2 people in the front seat. And I think one of them was Connolly. The other one had to have been the driver. So I remember 4. And I would swear on a stack of Bibles that is what went down. And I would argue, right? I would argue because that's what my memory says. And that is after all of the watching of the Zapruder film and everything else. So now I'm wrong. Or am I? That's what's interesting. Am I wrong? Could it be, this is where it gets nasty. Could it be that the Zapruder film that we see today on the internet and out there is not the same Zapruder film that was shot? People are posting right now. They're going, dude, I went and looked at the Zapruder film. It's definitely 6. Yeah, it's 6. Well, that's because that's what's out there today. I get that. I understand that. But could it be a different Zapruder film? Could all of the pictures that are out there right now just be different pictures? And they weren't able to go back and fix everything like what was printed in Life magazine. And those Life magazines that weren't digitized, that are stuck in somebody's garage that collected a bunch of JFK newspapers and stuff from the events, saved those, and those weren't allowed to be changed. Or maybe there's versions of Life magazine out there that are different than this one. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I really feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. And so also today, a couple of things were pointed out to me that said, Jimmy, you clearly were right. It was 4. And I've gone and I've checked and I've seen, now I've got pictures of 4. I've seen pictures of 6. I've seen both. And I don't know what's going on. I truly don't. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where to go with this. And we can. I think tomorrow night. This is what I would like to do for tomorrow night. Is I'm going to ask all of you, my family, to go out and collect some stuff. See what you can find about the 4-seat version of this car and the 6-seat version of this car. I did find a couple of videos out there that were 20 and 30 years old, showing different cars and different collections and stuff, claiming that it was the limousine. This is a duplicate of the limousine. But all of this stuff had 4 seats, right? It didn't have that third row, and it didn't have that cool roll bar thing going over the third row or the middle row. So there's that, right? And I don't know. So let's collect some information. And tomorrow night, I remember all the phone calls that we got about this the last time around. But tomorrow night, I want to take your phone calls. What is it that you remember? Certainly, if you're old enough, I was born the month before the assassination. So, obviously, I don't remember it. But I certainly grew up looking at the images and photographs and the life and times of JFK, like all of us. And I remember 4. I don't ever remember 6 until this last month. Okay? And like I said, if I homework. Thanks, John. If I was yes, John, I understand that. The auxiliary jump seats for extra passengers. Yes, that's the third row. And I saw tons of that today. But that car that you're talking about with the jump seats actually had a middle roll bar behind the driver's seat. There was another roll bar that went across, and it was also for the addition of a hard top that could be slapped on top of the car, okay? But there's a roll bar on the car with the jump seats in the back. And with those jump seats folded up against the driver's seat and the passenger seat for the front row, that opened up that whole back section of the car. Right? But it is a much bigger limousine and so forth. So, yeah, I get that. I studied this all day today. So, oh, man. Okay, that's what I got. Let's do this tomorrow night. Get ready. Just do some homework. See what you can figure out. And also collect some stuff. And tomorrow night, I see what everybody's posting here. Tammy just posted. That's from, okay, she just posted the pictures from the JFK Museum in Dallas, Texas. And this car has got a sign on the front, and it says the JFK limousine, right? With tan seats, and this is a 4-seater. Very strange. They claim this is one of his limousines. All right, that's fine. Maybe there was more than one. I get that too. But this is a 4-seat car. And this is what I remember. I remember black seats, though. Not these tan ones, but everything is a black and white photograph. So there you go. But that's where that image is from. And then she just posted the one next to it. And, well, that's actually very small. Okay. There you go. Tan seats in this car. Tan seats. And the other one, and they've been showing this a lot lately. When you look at the death pictures, the car after the shooting, it's black seats with a silver trim on it, with all the blood on the seats. So again, I don't know. I don't know, everybody. I don't have all the answers. But as I jumped into this today, I thought I was just going to get it all cleared up in my mind. I thought, man, I'm done with this. I can't freak myself out. Yeah, Bob just posted the picture. There it is. This is from Life magazine. Thank you. Look at this. And those are black seats, by the way. Okay, those are not tan. Thank you, Bob. That will get a retweet right now. And there you go. And now the one with the Hanover shoes, you see the roll bar? Okay, you see the roll bar behind the driver's seat? There you go. And see the black seat with the silver inserts in the back? That's what I'm talking about. So it's getting more and more confusing. My brain, there you go. Tammy just showed the, see? There you go. And Tammy, you just showed this other picture with Jackie O and John in the car, and it wasn't these seats. It's a totally different set. I don't know, man. I don't know. My brain so hurts. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know where my mind is going with this. I need your help, everybody. That's what I posted here in Facebook. I need your help. I'm so confused. I am. What is it that you remember? And certainly you can go over, Steven says here, Life had the wrong car in the photo, 6 from JFK. How would they get a picture of the wrong car with flowers in the back seat? And with the title of the JFK assassination. That doesn't make any sense. How could Life get it so wrong? Right? So, I don't know. Go over to my Facebook page, post your memories there. If you've got any photographs or anything you want to present to, there's a lot of stuff that is stringing out here. And there you go. All right, tonight, our guest, Anthony F. Sanchez. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Busted this guy out of retirement, no matter what he says. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We're completing our first week of pure UFO coverage here on Fade to Black. Next week, Ruben Langdon is going to be here on Monday, Tom DeLong on Tuesday, and Linda Moulton Howe on Wednesday. When I come back, right here, Anthony F. Sanchez. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
Hi, folks. Ronnie here reminding you that June is Health Awareness Month, sponsored by GetTheTea.com. Many of you have heard our tea commercial, maybe visited the website, but haven't committed because, well, you just don't know. Skeptical. We understand. Just to remind you, our tea is not just tea. In fact, very little tea. Life Change Tea is a unique blend of 8 different herbs, removing intruders that attack your health. You brew our tea to make the concentrate, you add water, and put in the fridge. 2 8-ounce glasses a day, and life will be good. Visit us at GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. And this month is lots of fun stuff with Health Awareness Month. You could be picked and receive your order absolutely free. You never know. Read the testimonies and try our products. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. And for great health tips, visit my YouTube channel at Health Matters Now, where you can learn about health tips and how products work on your body. Join me, GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fadernauts rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Yeah, this Mandela effect thing and the JFK assassination is messing with me. It's messing with all of you, too. I really appreciate everybody's shared confusion. Just got this post. It's from Marlene. She says, it all happened before I was born. All my life, I remember 4 JFK and Jackie in the back. That's it. Governor Colony and the driver in the front. Saw it in photos, documentaries, countless recreations of bullet trajectories, etc. The car in that photo is all I've ever seen until 2 weeks ago when suddenly there was this new car, new theory, new everything, WTF. I don't know. But, you know, tonight, maybe we'll quiz Anthony on this. Anthony Sanchez is the author of UFO Highway. He is the founder of Umbra Paranormal, a group dedicated to the understanding and the intricacies of paranormal science. In addition, Anthony is the organizer of the UFO Paranormal Summit in Sacramento, California. He currently works with Linda Moulton Howe, in addition to many other noted experts, to help bring awareness of underground facilities, alien-human hybrids, grays, and UFOs. He is a senior-level technologist and a veteran of Silicon Valley, having received his BSc in Computer Information Systems from Western Governors University in Salt Lake City, Utah. He has worked for Intel, 3Com, HP, NEC, and he still develops software for the state of California through his own consulting firm, which means he's an agency guy. His website, UFOhighway.com. I would like to welcome to the program, for the first time out of retirement, Anthony F. Sanchez. Hey, Anthony, how are you, man?
You know, Jimmy, you really did bring me out of retirement, so it's you and Brad Olson combined.
Yeah, you got to thank Brad for that. And it was so cool to see you right there in the front row for the broadcast and finally getting to meet you. And today... let me get the disclaimer out of the way so I don't forget. It's the first-time guest disclaimer, okay? Next time you're on the show, you don't get it. But today you do, which is it's just you and I sitting on my couch talking as friends. Where we start, we start. Where we end, but we're going to end as friends. You ready to go?
Right on, brother.
Is this, today you and I were talking about some of your software stuff, which we don't have to bring up right now, but... Sure. I remember talking to you about software a couple of years ago, and we had some exchanges. You promised me software that I never got, but I didn't realize at that time. I thought you were just a software guy, right?
Right.
I didn't know it was you that I was talking to until today when you showed me the software. I was like, holy crap, man. We talked about this a couple of years ago, and there you go. So it's kind of weird that here we are today. And I know I'm giving you a hard time about this retirement thing, but over the years, there's been this urban legend, you know, that you were out of the game. You were out. You checked out. So clarify that for everybody right now. What really happened? Did you check out, and are you checking back in?
I did a couple times. Back in 2010, when I went through the second phase of my divorce, it really screwed with my head, and I gave up on the whole UFO research gig because it was partly responsible for the end of my marriage. So I notified Norio Hayakawa, who's also a researcher, and you probably have interviewed Norio. He's been on Coast to Coast and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Norio wrote the foreword to my book, UFO Highway, and at the time, I was doing a lot of work with Norio because, one, he's very skeptical about the whole UFO alien phenomena, and He and I were very close at the time. We're still good friends. And I said to Norio, I said, I just can't do this. I can't be traveling anymore to these, remote locations. I can't be meeting with individuals. I can't. It's just, I felt that was partly responsible for, the divorce. And if you've ever been through a divorce, anyone in the audience, it's a hard thing to go through when you're not the one asking for it. It's like a death in the family. It's devastating.
Right.
So I contacted Bill Ryan from Project Camelot and several other people, Jerry Pippin, who was a good friend of mine,
right,
and Mel Fabregas, and that was the circle. It was Jerry Pippin, Mel Fabregas, Norio Hayakawa, and Bill Ryan. That was the immediate circle that I was working with. So I sent Norio Hayakawa all my stuff, and I said, I'm out of the business. I am not doing this anymore, because I was devastated. I had little kids and my ex-wife, and so I did bow out. And then there was a post on Project Avalon about it, and people were freaking out, and because I was about to release UFO Highway, and I told Norio, just do whatever you want with it. I can't deal with it anymore, because it was just too emotionally draining, and I ended up going into therapy for the next 7 years. And I'm not even joking about that. Well, I was already in therapy, because the divorce was asked for in 2005. And then we got together, we stayed together, and then it happened again in 2010, which was devastating. So I bowed out, so technically 3 times I bowed out of the whole UFO thing. But this last time was in 2012. After my conference, I did some research, and then by the time 2013 came around, I was just overwhelmed with it, because I was going to places like Area 51, Edwards Air Force Base, Beale Air Force Base, China Lake, and Dulce, and I finally had to just take a break from it for personal reasons and for reasons of exhaustion. And it's something that I did, but I'm glad that people like Brad Olson and the folks at the Travel Channel who they asked me to film an episode for them, UFOs over Yosemite, which is going to be coming out in the fall. I'm glad that these people reached out to me, and you too, Jimmy. Because this is where my heart is. This is where my heart and soul lies, in the whole UFO research arena, especially with gray aliens and underground bases, which are my specialty, because most people don't know about this, and I don't speak about it a lot. I think a couple of times I've spoken about it at the Wake and Aware conference in 2013 for Carrie Cassidy, and in Dulce for the Dulce UFO Base conference. I've had personal experiences from the time that I was a child that landed me in therapy, because my mom freaked out, and she didn't want to hear me talking about, she didn't want to hear the 7-year-old kid saying he saw a massive cube in the sky with this lighting system. And it was, to her, it made no sense. She didn't care. It sounded, and there was an uncle of mine that actually said that I was crazy. So for fear of me going into a mental institution, because that was in the early 70s, in the mid to late 70s, they put me in therapy, and I remained in therapy till I was in my early teens. Fortunately for me, though, my therapist was very open-minded and understanding, and he didn't attack me for what for the episodes that had occurred in my life, what I was, regaling, what I was telling him. Instead of attacking me like my relatives were doing, he listened, and he let me talk about the experiences that I had. And fortunately for me, in 1981, I was coming back from a San Francisco Giants game with my dad and my uncle and my little brother, and we were on the highway, I think it was 280, and we were passing Moffett Field, which is where the NASA Ames Research Facility was, and there's this huge hangar, Hangar 1. And it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, because we had left Candlestick, which was in South San Francisco. And I think it was a doubleheader. I don't even remember, but I know it was late at night. And we were diehard Giants fans, so we were always going, especially if the Dodgers were playing the Giants or San Diego. But anyway,
right.
This one night in particular, we're on the highway or the freeway, and we look over to the left, and we see this massive disc hovering above the ground in front of the doors to Hangar 1, and it's wider than Hangar 1. And my dad slams on the brake on the freeway, but so did everybody else that was around us. It was like a group, reaction. And I mean, thankfully it was 1 o'clock in the morning. There weren't a lot of cars on the freeway, and this we saw this massive disc, and I remember my face being pressed against the glass. And my dad would not let me roll down the window. He was freaking out, and my uncle was freaking out. My little brother was asleep. I don't know how the heck he slept through it, but this disc was hovering, and you could see the silhouettes of the people from beneath it and inside of the hangar running around like mad. And you saw vehicles approaching, and it just all was happening like in this instant. And before we knew it, the disc disappeared. It vaporized. You could see like vapor floating in the shape of the disc where it had been levitating and floating, and it just was like so surreal. And I just remember thinking, am I dreaming?
Right.
But then my dad, oh my God, it was like a miracle, because my dad just turned around and looked at me, and he knew that all these years of me saying I've seen these little gray people, that I've seen, these UFOs, that, well, now it was validated. And my uncle was there too. Oh my God. And then my uncle started telling us about how in the late 50s, when he was in the military in Arizona, that he had seen UFOs. And he was in the Air Force, by the way. So it just was incredible that all this validation occurred on this one night when I was a kid. And the next thing I know, my dad's in therapy with me because my mom was a fucking nut job. And she, oh, I hope I can curse. I'm sorry I didn't.
It is a family show, Anthony.
Okay, yeah. So my mom was just like, my mom's a beautiful person, and she loves me, and she loves my dad to death. But she just could not handle this type of.
Well, what did your dad? That's interesting, because you got your dad to back you up now. What did he say to your mom about Moffat?
Right. So, well, my dad passed away in 2006. So, but what my dad was telling my mom, he said, we saw a UFO. We saw a legitimate UFO, like a classic disc. And my mom was just not buying it. She just wasn't having it. She had asked him if he and my uncle, my tío Pelón, my uncle Guillermo, had been drinking. He said, no, we weren't drinking,
Right.
Not since about 9:00 in the evening when we were still at the game. But my dad, from that point on, my dad no longer scrutinized any aspect of what I had to say with regard to UFOs, because he was on the side of my mother. He was, he wasn't as harsh as my mom, but he definitely didn't want me talking about it, because he didn't want people seeing me as crazy, for lack of a better word, Jimmy, crazy. And
yeah. Well, that's the love of a parent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get that. I want to back up. You mentioned the Cube UFO. Can you tell me about that? What did you see? And
right.
how old were you?
Okay, so this was in I think it was 76 or 77. God, I should have brought up my journal before I started the show. But there was a lunar eclipse. There was actually a lunar eclipse. I'd never seen one before. I was a young kid. I had to have been like 6.5 years old. So this would have been 76, 77, somewhere around there. And I actually have the actual date documented, because one of the things that I did as a kid was I kept a journal. And I was told to keep a journal by my therapist. So over the years, I wrote all this stuff down. And I have it. And as a matter of fact, I'll share it with you at the end of the evening. I'll send you a copy of what I wrote from my journal. Because it's an open book for me. Anybody can see what I went through, because there are others going through what I went through as a child right now. And I know that for a fact, based on the research and the stuff, the people that I've interviewed and spoken to, even casually. There was a lunar eclipse. I remember my mom and me and her cousin, which was my second cousin, we were out watching this. And it was just fascinating. And I'll never forget it, because, coming from a Hispanic background, I remember some of the women that were out there were freaking out. They're like, because there was like some old Mexican wives' tale where it's like, oh, if you're pregnant, you're not supposed to look at a lunar eclipse because you'll harm the baby or something. I remember that vividly. And it was just so surreal. But anyhow, the following night, it was the first incident that I had ever had. I felt like this resonance, like this vibration going through my body. And I heard like this low hum sound, but it was very powerful. And I woke up, and it had to have been between like midnight and 1:00 in the morning. Everybody was asleep. And I don't know, I was getting like these visuals in my head. And I just walked outside. And we lived in San Jose, California. We were by Alexian Brothers Hospital, and we lived on Pamela and Mather. And right across the street from where we lived, there was this huge open field. It was one of the last rural areas in San Jose, because San Jose became this burgeoning city, prior to the Silicon Valley, bursting wide open.
Right.
And there were like these, I don't know if they were leftover orchards from like a previous bygone era, or if they were just natural. There were peach trees and stuff, but it was a massive field. And there was a lot of wild grass. Anyhow, I received some type of a message to walk into that field. And I walked into the middle of the field and I laid down because I was instructed to lay down. And I looked up into the sky, and above the entire street block where we lived, my mom and dad hadn't bought their first home yet because they were a young couple and they were still renting. Above the entire apartment complex, I could see this massive cube emerging from the sky, because you could see the stars begin to disappear. And before I knew it, it was pure blackness above the apartment complex. It had to be like at least a mile or two high. It was up there. But then it began to descend. And as it got closer, I started to see what appeared to be like these lavender-colored lighting systems, fluorescents. And that's how I could make out that it was a cube. It wasn't a sphere or it wasn't a disc. It was a cube. And my little mind was racing like 1,000 miles an hour. Remember, I'm 6.5, 7 years old. But I know that it's not going to hurt me. Whatever it is, it's not there to hurt me. It's there to talk with me, or it's there to it's something. It's not something sinister. It was something I could feel. There was nothing malevolent about what was happening. All I know is that the lights got brighter, and then I immediately passed out. I can't recall anything but seeing these small faces of these like aliens, these gray aliens. Gray alien didn't exist at that time. At 6.5, 7 years old, I didn't know about Betty and Barney Hill. I didn't know about anything with regards to UFOs.
Right.
So all I know is I saw these creatures. I know they weren't human, but I don't remember what they were doing or how I interacted with them. It just happened in an instant, and then the next thing I know, I open my eyes and it's daylight out, but it's still early hours. And as I stand up and I look towards the apartment complex, I see my mom standing out there with 2 police officers from the San Jose Police Department. And as I start walking towards her, my mom starts crying and going into hysterics. And then I see my dad driving up. So my dad must have made it all the way to Milpitas because there were no cell phones back in the 70s. So my mom must have called his work and said something to the effect that you need to get home, Anthony's missing. So, and it wasn't that far from where we lived. I remember my dad spanking me because, what I did was wrong. They didn't know at that point why I had gone to the field, but coming from a Latin family back in the 70s, just spanking was part of life. So my dad spanked me. He was pissed off, or upset, excuse me. And my mom, started asking me questions, and I started telling her. I said, well, the little people in the cube. And she's like, what? I said, it was the little people talking to me from the cube. And she's like, oh, no.
Oh, man.
No.
Right.
So I started seeing Dr. Jerry, who was a psychiatrist for the county of Santa Clara. I don't want to give his last name on the air, but he was very instrumental in me becoming who I am today because, like I said, he was very open-minded, and he didn't attack me. He was the first person that didn't attack me over what I was telling him. And, I had similar instances, like in Point Reyes, at my grandmother's apartment complex, again with, coming back from South San Francisco Candlestick with my dad and my uncle. So I had these experiences which really shaped me and drove me to want to understand technology, because by the time I was 10 years old, I was already programming. I remember I had my dad, I was looking to the San Jose Mercury News Classifieds, and I had my dad take me to downtown Sacramento, which was at least 20 miles away from where we lived, so that he could buy me a VIC-20 computer from this guy for $150. My dad didn't even know what a VIC-20 was.
Right.
And I kind of was just very curious, and I read a lot about stuff, and I wanted to start programming. I wanted to get a job at NASA. As a little 10-year-old kid, I started having all these, nobody understood me and my family. They didn't get it. They didn't understand why I wanted to understand technology. And I would go, Jimmy, I would go to Hillview Library right there in East San Jose, which is like one of the worst parts of the Bay Area in East San Jose. It's like South Central Los Angeles, essentially. It's pretty bad. Right. And I would walk there, and I'd come home at like 9 o'clock at night when they closed with books under my arm, and I would be checking out books. At that time, from legendary UFO researchers who were putting out books at the time, and I was, looking into just about anything that had to do with UFOs or aliens. And this is as a young kid. Then I kind of stopped through my teen years because I became preoccupied with, a whole bunch of other things when you're going through puberty and whatnot, and it was really focused on my school. But by the time I hit 18, 19 years old, and the whole Area 51 phenomena was breaking, I started doing research on Area 51, Project Bluebeam, HARP, anything that I could get my hands on, because I needed to understand what I went through as a child. I needed to know, what were these creatures? What were these cubes and discs and spheres that I have seen? How do they relate to what's happening with other people? Am I the only one? Because of research, and reading lots of books, I knew that I wasn't the only one. Well, there had to be a community out there that I can speak with.
Yeah, let me jump in here for a second, Anthony, because you grew up right in the heart of not only the Silicon Valley, but an area that would eventually change the world, right? Mm-hmm. And you had Park going on. You had everything that was going on with HP and all of the other companies, not only the companies that we know today, like Apple and Microsoft, but there was everything else that was going on there at that time.
Oh, yeah. There are companies that have come and gone, like Borland, Lotus Software.
Yes, Lotus, 1, 2, 3. Everybody.
Yeah, my ex-wife, when we first were together, when we were engaged, she was one of the first beta managers for the beta programs for CC Mail and Lotus 1, 2, 3. But particularly CC Mail, which was a brand new thing at the time. Nobody had I had my first email back in 93, 94 was CC Mail. That's it. That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you were in the middle of all of that. You're writing code. You're doing your thing. You're doing computer technology. It goes without saying that you're obviously very intelligent and you've got a firm grip on software and technology. I've seen it myself, and I know where you're coming from. It's very impressive. Yeah. But take me to that atmosphere that was going on in Silicon Valley at that time with the guys that you were running around with. Was there that went on to, obviously run corporations and change the world? Was there also UFO talk amongst your friends and your other computer guys?
It's funny, Jimmy, but a lot of people don't know this about me, but I actually was in my early 20s the first corporate webmaster for 3Com Corporation. This is like in 94, 95, when nobody knew what a webmaster was. They didn't even use that title anymore.
Before 3Com Park.
Well, I was the guy that did the 3Com Park website.
Wow.
That was me. I was in charge of the marketing department at the time. I had been hired away from Acer America Corporation, where I was one of the top developers in the tools development division, alongside Ben Galbraith and Bill Sturdivant, the two buddies that I worked with. And a lot of us were hired away from Acer because, one, they weren't hardly paying us anything, and two, we were doing cutting-edge projects. Like, for instance, my team, Tools Development, we were one of the first software development teams in the Silicon Valley to use products from a little-known company called Netscape Communications. So we built an intranet in in Taiwan, San Jose, Costa Rica, and San Jose, California. So we had an intranet over a private, network that we were just doing essentially technical write-ups to prove, the validity of certain technologies that they were proposing coming out of Netscape. And we got printed in a technical journal, and everybody at Acer either went to, Netscape. A lot of them became very rich because Netscape hadn't gone IPO at the time.
Right.
And some of us went to just big corporations. I went to, they called me up from 3Com, doubled my salary, gave me stock options and a signing bonus. I felt like a baseball player. They gave me a signing bonus. And I ended up working directly with the CEO and founder of 3Com, Eric Benjamin. So there's nothing false about this story. It's legit. And it's so funny, Jimmy, because a lot of the people in Silicon Valley who were like high level software developers, I met a lot of guys who are very introverted. I would say, and I didn't understand autism back then, but by today's understanding, I would say a lot of these guys were autistic in a way. They were not, socially inclined. They did not want to interact with others. They were content to be in a room programming, till 3 a.m, sleeping in a sleeping bag, waking up at 7 and resuming the programming day, eating pizza, smoking Marlboros, and it's,
yeah, what most people, and I mean, when that old thing to say 99.99% of the population, right? Well, I hate it when people say that, but I'm going to do it right now. 99.99% of the population has no idea about the discipline of writing K-locks, right? And they don't even know what a K-lock is. And for the audience, a K-lock is 1,000 lines of code, LOC, K being 1,000, LOC is lines of code, K-locks. And it was how many K-locks are you going to do tonight? Well, man, I'm going to do 15 K-locks. Oh yeah, well, I'm going to do 17. And the discipline to do that is beyond comprehension. It's a very special talent, and it's got to work, right? That's the
So, like for instance, with my software company for the paranormal stuff, Ghost Hunter apps, but the typical ghost box that I write has like 35,000 lines of code.
That's insane to me. Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's like writing a Bible overnight, I mean, it's like that. So the guys that are running companies now in Silicon Valley and all, the lead engineers and technical guys and technical writers that are there, is there an underlying belief or conversation in the paranormal, the phenomenal?
No, you would find it's weird because you would expect that people with such a logical, and technical discipline, you would think that they would be very,
closed.
Right, and they're not. It's like when I was at Intel Corporation. This is I was with Intel twice, from 2000 to 2001.
Hold on, right there. I got to take a quick break. Let's do that. Let's get this in, and we'll pick it up with Intel right after this. I'll remind you, Anthony. Don't you worry about a thing. Our guest tonight, Anthony F. Sanchez. His book, UFO Highway. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Anthony right after this short break. Stay with us, everybody.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
Fade or not, things are never what they seem. For the past century, forbidden subjects such as UFOs, backward engineering, human abductions, secret space programs, underground bases, suppressed free energy devices, and other fantastic notions have tested the human mind, forcing it to decipher fact from fiction. Chronicling what he calls the alternative narrative, author Brad Olson gets down to the middle of it all in his best-selling book, Future Esoteric, now released in a second edition by CCC Publishing. And now, you can get Future Esoteric at a special price, plus another free book by just using the promo code Jimmy when you check out. Just click on the Future Esoteric or CCC Publishing banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy. IRA and 401k account holders, are you crossing your fingers for the stock market to continue its bull run? Or hoping for a miracle to pay off our $19 trillion national debt? American Bullion wants you to think for a moment. If we go through another significant stock market correction and things begin to unravel, you could suffer some serious losses. On the other hand, gold is a proven long-term asset that could hedge and protect your retirement accounts from getting washed away. Call American Bullion now and let them show you how easy it is to transfer your existing IRA or roll over your 401k into a gold IRA. American Bullion has an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and is a leader in gold IRAs. With just one call, their experts can explain everything there is to know and get you started with a free gold IRA guide. Call 1-800-545-2525. Don't procrastinate. Save your retirement. Call American Bullion now at 1-800-545-2525. That's 1-800-545-2525.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Well, yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right. Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can also follow Anthony at Anthony F. Sanchez on Twitter. Jump into the conversation. We're going to burn through probably 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 tweets tonight. And if you want to come and hang out with everybody, just use the hashtag F2B. Now, Anthony, I was just looking at the studio clock here, and we were going to talk about Intel.
Right.
But no, we're not. We're gonna go into a couple of other directions because I'm gonna wear you out tonight, and I don't want to run out of time. And before we move forward, what do you remember in the car with JFK? How many people were in the car with JFK when he was assassinated? 2, 4, 6, 8. How many people? I remember
there being 4 people, JFK, his wife, and the 2 men in the front. It's funny, the only memory that I really have of the event growing up is that I know that it happened on November 22nd because my birthday is November 24th, and I've always associated my birthday with that incident.
Right.
So,
yeah, my mom told me that I was a month old. I was born October 10th. Mm-hmm. And she said she heard about it on TV and laid me down on the carpet in front of the TV where this is what she told me. And she sat on the couch and watched it all day long. And wow. but I was a month old, I was 5 weeks old. But so you remember 4.
Well, from what I've seen, the footage, I've always I could recall there being 4 people, 2 men in the front, and then Jackie and the president in the back.
Yeah. Now, isn't it a trip that, and I'm with you, right? But apparently there was 6.
What?
Yes. There was 6. It was JFK. Now, check this out. It was JFK and Jackie in the back seat. There was a middle seat with John Connolly, the Texas governor, and his wife, and then a third bench seat in the front with the driver and another Secret Service agent. So there was actually six. Yeah, I know, right?
No, I don't remember that in the film.
Yep. Whoa. I know, man. I'm tripping.
Okay, I got to go back now.
Yeah, it's the Mandela effect, man. What do you think of the Mandela effect? Have you tripped on that lately?
Yeah, you're talking about where people thought he died in prison or something to that effect?
Right. That's where it originated a couple of years ago.
Right. I don't know. We do live in this possible existence where, we know, through physics that there is the strong possibility for parallel universes, multiple universes, like this multiverse theory. So some of us could have the ability to be, to shift in and out of other realities and walk away with knowledge that we're not supposed to have for our own reality. I mean, I don't know, Jim, that gets really crazy. But.
It does. Or that other parallel universe to dip into this one briefly and get back out. Right. So it's a combination of both. I know, it's weird. Where the Mandela effect started to mess with me was the first shuttle, the Challenger disaster, because I remember clearly when and where I was. I've told the story many times, so I don't need to go over it again. But I remember where I was, and the reason why I remember was because I had driven a friend of mine to work, and specifically when and where. Plus, I had told the story forever after that about me coming home from dropping Daryl off in the morning because he didn't have a car, and I needed him to pay his bills. So I would made sure that he got to work, right? And I came home and watched it. Now, and that was in early 1985. And then I find out that the Challenger disaster didn't happen until January of 86.
86.
Right. And I'm like, wait a minute. That's impossible. And so anyway, I know that it could be just my mind messing with me and my memory. Right. But the point is that I told everybody by 1986, Daryl was way out of my life. He was gone. And I don't know, man. I don't know.
A real quick aside on that. I'd love to share something with you just really quickly, and I'll be very brief. That morning, I would say about 4:00 that morning, I woke up because I had this dream of this huge explosion. I don't know what the explosion was, but in my mind, it was like a nuclear blast or something, but it was very prevalent. And I remember I was kind of like tearing up and kind of, hyperventilating, and I woke up my mom and my grandmother, and they were like freaking out. What's wrong? I said, I saw this huge explosion in this dream, and they were like trying to calm me down. And, I never went back to bed. I stayed up by 6:00. I was showering and I went to school. That morning, my mom was at breakfast. We were at school because I was in high school at the time, 16, and we were watching it on television in the classrooms, just like they were across the country.
Right.
My mom was at a restaurant with my Aunt Ruby, and they're watching it on TV too. And as soon as the explosion happens, they look at one another, and my aunt says to my mom, Harvey had a dream that the space shuttle exploded this morning. Oh my God, I completely forgot that he dreamt that. And my mom says, Anthony dreamt that there was an explosion. Well, that cousin of mine and I, kind of have this psychic connection with one another, even to this day. Just a few years back, I was sitting here looking at a website for the Sacramento Rivercats, which is a baseball team, and I started thinking about my cousin, and who I hadn't heard from in like a decade, and he calls me out of the blue sky. And so, yeah, that's a trip.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. It's now looking back, do you remember what year that was in high school? And you can confirm it was 1986. I'm not trying to cloud your memory, but I know when and where I was, and it was definitely 1985.
Oh yeah, it was to me. It had to have been 1986. I was in class I remember watching it on television with the rest of my class. In my mind, it happened in 1986.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. My memory says I'm nuts. That's what my memory says. Yeah, the Mandela effect, and it's weird how the evidence of so many people coming forward, about the Bernstein Bears, or is it the Bernstein Bears, and is it EIN and so forth? There's that part, and now there's a whole list of things that are out where people are going back and they're starting to second guess and doubt their own memories on so many different things, and the examples are there. We don't need to go through them, but right. Is it evidence of is something as simple as we can't depend on our own memory as being fact? Like you would swear on a stack of Bibles, right, and swear that you are 100% correct here, and then you find out that maybe you're not. So is it evidence that we just can't depend on our memories? And that's what scares me. I don't want my memory is and my sanity is what I depend on. I would go so far as to presume that if it is in fact a recent phenomena, that it could do with our advancements in technology, like the CERN facility, right. The particle accelerators, like in Livermore. Yes, I would say whatever we're doing on a global scale with these massive, machines that are manipulating atoms, that we could be causing these shifts ourselves. And our memories are just fine. They're just being altered, as a byproduct of what we're doing scientifically. There's always these warnings. Oh my God, CERN's going to create a black hole that's going to suck the entire planet in. If everybody freaks out, then they do the experiment and it doesn't happen. But what if something did happen that we were just not aware of because, on a conscious level, we're only seeing it as these lapses in time and memory, like time displacement. Yeah, and so to my point, my sanity, right? My memory is what I depend on. The thought of my mind closing down on me where I can't depend on that anymore. That's about the most frightening thing that somebody could think about, right? Right. And what if, as we move along, that we find out, and there's concrete evidence that things are not what they seem. Things are purely not what they seem. What you think is reality now is not. And man, could that cause a breakdown in the very foundation that keeps us moving forward and keeps anarchy from developing in the streets? You know what I mean? If it comes out that CERN, Lawrence Livermore, Sandia, that they've been messing with time, space, and our reality around us, that things have had holes poked in it. And now things have changed. And
God knows what they're doing in Los Alamos, or Dulce for that matter. One of the stories that I walked away with from Dulce in 2012 was a family that I interviewed. As a matter of fact, it was a family that I stayed with. Rick Prestel from Sacramento MUFON at the time, who's my research partner, my closest friend. He and I were there together to go up to the Archuleta Mesa and do our research. Well, one of the families told us about this sonic boom that they had heard. And there was this huge flash of light, and they all went outside, all these families near Archuleta Rock, which is a small community in Dulce. And above Archuleta Rock, they saw a German Messerschmitt fighting with like an American fighter plane from like World War II era. And they saw this. And one of the kids there drew for us the plane. He literally drew a German Messerschmitt in detail. He said, "This is what we all saw." And I'm thinking, well, could there be some type of time displacement experiment? Could they be shifting in and out of time? I mean, what are they doing there at Dulce?
Well, let's talk about Dulce. Now, I'm going to change gears, and we're going to go directly into this. It's something that I have researched as far as I can take it, right? There's a few people that are no longer with us that I can't talk to, and we're going to speak about them right now. But it is there's something going on. That's where I'm going. There is something going on. And going back to, we'll talk about Phil Schneider in a second, but going back to Paul Benowitz and the original Richard Doty stuff, let's kind of start there. Well, we can even jump before that, and we should maybe talk about the Dulce interview and then what happened in 1940.
Right.
Actually, you know what? Let's start there, and then let's move into Paul Benowitz. What happened in 1940?
Well, there was a Muroc expedition, which was out of Muroc Army Airfield, which is now Edwards Air Force Base. And this was a group that was commissioned as part of a larger project who was to search for our future home for our atomic testing facilities, or the atomic testing program, the development of the atomic weapons. And this group was in northern New Mexico, and they found this massive cavern in the Archuleta Mesa, which is a very ominous place. Well, it's beautiful.
Yes, it is.
But when you start to think of it as the possible home of an underground facility, you begin to wonder, and it does take on this ominous look and feel of it. They found caverns there, and inside of the caverns, they encountered what appeared to them to be like an engagement, a violent engagement that had taken place. But what was odd is that it was an old engagement. There were skeletons, there were skulls of creatures that weren't quite human, alongside skeletal remains of definite Apache warriors at the time. Remember, the Apaches came to this area, as part of a reservation plan. Much later, the entire. You know how they were shifting a lot of American Indian nations across the country into these reservations.
Right.
Well, the Hickory Apache were moved to this area as well, but they have a deep, deep history with this place, and there were indigenous peoples in the area. The entire Southwest was covered with indigenous peoples for thousands of years. This we know is a fact. You could talk to Brad Olson, who just did an episode for the Travel Channel where he was, I believe, in Chaco Canyon.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I saw the pictures of it. Yeah.
Right. So these guys found these caves that extended throughout these caverns, these massive cavern entrances. And what they found was an alien civilization. So in 1979, when this colonel is assigned to this project, where he's told to report to Edwards Air Force Base, and he's given these briefing documents, and he's told he can only read the briefing documents from Edwards Air Force Base to the destination in New Mexico. He thinks he's reading about these Native Americans that they're going to be encountering near this facility, this classified facility. What he didn't realize is he was actually reading about gray aliens.
Wow.
Right.
So, okay, Phil Schneider, who I feel was murdered. Okay, so I'm just going to go on the record right there. There's too many funky things with his death, but I think all of it points to he did not commit suicide. He did not kill himself.
Right.
Was Phil Schneider? Okay, there's two sides to Phil Schneider. There's the engineer side of him, the intelligent guy. And then there's that talked about going into Dulce and digging the holes and so forth, and going down and having his confrontation. Mm-hmm. There's that part. And then there's the Phil Schneider that started to get a little bit out of control with his knowledge of international politics and some other things that he was whistleblowing on. And so I don't know if he stretched his story into, from what was a foundation into the more fantastical to keep the story going. I don't know. I've never spoken to Phil. But what I do know is that he was murdered, and he was murdered in a motel room at a point in his life where he was in a good place, right? Mentally.
Right.
And so I don't know I don't know if he was taken out because of the international politics and Department of Defense stuff that he was starting to whistleblow on, or if it was the Dulce base situation that got him killed. But somebody wanted to shut him up for sure.
Right.
Which part of the Phil Schneider story do we listen to, or do we listen to it all?
You got to listen to it all. And there's an explanation as for why at the end of his life, when he was on the lecture circuit, his story started to detract away from what actually happened when he was there at the Dulce facility.
Right.
Now, this is based on what the colonel told me when I interviewed him, this is back in 2010 in January, he said that Phil Schneider was doing something very stupid. He was on the lecture circuit and he was giving detailed information about the Dulce facility, some of which was true, some of which was false, but he was sharing geological samples that had been synthesized not by us, but by the gray aliens that ultimately became our stealth technology. We did not develop that technology. It was synthesized for us, and we were educated in what exactly it was, and we began to apply it as part of our stealth technology. So it's funny because when Phil Schneider was murdered, all of those geological samples, various documentation, photographs from like the Bikini Islands where he had UFOs in the photographs and whatnot, all of that was gone. But there was other stuff that was left that should have been taken had it been a murder robbery or whatever.
Right.
So that's what's strange about his story. Phil Schneider definitely was there. Now, this is according to the colonel. He was definitely there working as part of a geological specification. So he wasn't lying about that. But he began to fabricate parts of his story on the lecture circuit because he thought it would protect him. And ultimately, it didn't protect him because the group, DSD-3, which is the security organization at Dulce, at the facility, they took him out. That's who killed him.
Well, what about the part of Phil Schneider's story about, he was physically a damaged person? I mean, he obviously had some stuff physically done to him. Was he shot by a gray alien?
I suspect that he was because this is based on the colonel's interview with me, his testimony. The things that we know is that he definitely was a contractor, part of URS Corp. He was being sought after by DSD-3, and he was there during the 1979 altercation between the contractors. This is what people don't understand. They think it was the military that actually was in a firefight with the gray aliens there at the Dulce facility. That's not the case. It was actually contractors from several groups that were there as part of a general services agreement working on geological development, construction, several different scientific capacities that these groups were there, some of them technological. That's who actually had the altercation, and then the military got involved, or at least DSD-3.
And we'll continue with that part, but there's the other part where I'm a little bit confused. I've always tried to connect the dots on this. Did Phil and his crew? Phil indicates that they surprised the aliens, right? They were drilling down, popped through, the stench came up, and the confrontation started then. But then there's the other part that we knew about Dulce. We had an agreement there. We had people down there, and it was a secret underground facility that we were aware of. So what part of this is true, or are both stories true? Did Phil not know where they were drilling and what they were drilling into?
He didn't know everything, according to the colonel. And it's sort of correct what Phil said, but it actually was, according to the colonel, the whole altercation happened because contractors there who were working as part of some lab outfit that was there, they had found out that gray aliens from a specific lower level had been abducting humans. And that went against a charter that had been set in place where they were no longer allowed to abduct humans and conduct experiments on them. Now, there were known experiments taking place at this scientific auxiliary, which was west of the Archuleta Mesa, near this water abatement and where this Project Gas Buggy area was. Now, apparently beneath that area, there's a massive scientific facility where they were doing a lot of super soldier experiments, genetic experimentation. This is why you have the highest level of missing individuals per capita in the United States, more so than anywhere else. It's happening right there in northern New Mexico, northwestern New Mexico. So, yeah, there's what happened with Phil Schneider's description is not exactly correct. So The altercation started because they discovered that humans were being taken, and I don't know all the details off the top of my head, but that's in essence why it happened. And there was hostility between the groups. See, there were two groups of gray aliens working at Dulce. There was this dissident group, which was this younger faction that worked with the contractors and the military, part of the whole military industrial complex, working in scientific and technological capacities. There was this older group of grays that didn't want anything to do with the humans, the human element, but they tolerated them. And this was a more like a religious group of grays. Now, again, this is according to the colonel, but it makes sense that that group wouldn't care about any charter with regards to not abducting humans. People think this sounds crazy. They think this sounds outlandish. But I just have to say one thing. I had a meeting with Travis Walton when I was in New Mexico. This is some years ago. I think it was in 2011. And if anybody has read his book, they know that what they seen in the movie Fire in the Sky, that's nothing with, that has no connection to reality with what actually happened to Travis Walton. Travis Walton describes in his book how he woke up in a mountain where humans were working alongside aliens, grays. And that's Dulce. That's a Dulce facility. I've been to Snowflake, Arizona for my own research. If you look at a map and you look at Dulce in New Mexico, and then you look at Snowflake, Arizona, that's just a hop, skip, and a jump away in a UFO, which is it's not going to, there's no time,
right.
There's no time factor there. These people, these aliens and the military who are working part of my lab's operations, which are military abduction scenarios, if they're using this UFO technology, they can go anywhere within a 1,000-mile radius of the Dulce facility and, be back within an evening with whoever or whatever they abducted. So I believe that Travis Walton was abducted by the aliens at Dulce, and that's where he was. Just read this book and then read my book, and it will make sense. And my book came out before I had that sit down with him and had that realization.
Let's take a break right here, and then when we come back, we're going to continue to connect the dots with Paul Benowitz and the entire Richard Doty situation, because all of this ties together. It's strange, but it's true. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Anthony F. Sanchez. I'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
FoodForLiberty.com sells high-quality, storable foods from Numana. And right now, take advantage of our summer special. Purchase 2 family packs and we'll send you a Pro Pure Water Pitcher, a $70 value, free. This premium pitcher is ideal for use with just about any water source and removes more contaminants than other brands. And it comes with a filter that lasts up to 2 full years. Whether you need to be prepared in the event of an emergency, you're an outdoor sports enthusiast, Numana is known for high-quality, great-tasting, GMO-free, super nutritious food with no chemical preservatives. And with a 25-year shelf life, you can't beat the feeling of being food secure when you need it most. Go to foodforliberty.com right now for great-tasting, high-quality, storable foods from Numana. Buy 2 family packs and get the Pro Pure Water Pitcher free. It makes good sense to be prepared. Get it at foodforliberty.com.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air, to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's all here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter right now at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox, which is completely on fire right now. Our guest tonight, Anthony F. Sanchez. And the F is there, to separate Anthony from all the other Sanchez's that are out there. He needs to make sure that he is the only Anthony F. Sanchez. So
thank God that I do that, Jimmy, because a couple of years back there was some moron here in California who was caught on video abusing his child in his backyard because he couldn't catch a baseball, and thousands of people thought that was me, and I was like, no, that is not me. I don't know who that guy is, and I'm glad he got arrested.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start doing Jimmy A. Church here soon too as well. So now we have, now this is where, again, this whole thing gets really, really polluted because we have the strange case of Paul Benowitz, and which is a real case. It really happened. He really died. It was tragic. He was messed with. And Richard Doty said that he was just doing his duty as an Air Force member of the OSI, and that's it was his
at Kirtland
job.
Air Force Base in Albuquerque.
At Kirkland. And I recently flew into Albuquerque, and you see, the Kirkland sign right there, and it just sends shivers, the whole thing. You look around, you look at the mountains, and you think about the tragic story of Paul Benowitz and how that went down. Now, to get things started on the Benowitz angle, he was seeing things there that people have been seeing for a long time, going down to Dulce too as well, with the indigenous population and the people that live there. They've been seeing orbs and lights and things around there for a long time.
They've been seeing UFOs, actual UFOs.
Right. And Benowitz, thinks he hears something. He's got his own equipment. He's listening to transmissions. He photographs objects at the base, on the ground, and so forth. So he was onto something, and he contacts Kirkland, and then this relationship with Doty started. And Doty exposed Dulce to Benowitz, which, again, I'm going to turn this over to you. How do you think everything ties together?
Well, Benowitz was being fed a lot of disinformation from Richard C. Doty because Benowitz was being thrown off track by Richard C. Doty and AFOSI because he really legitimately found something. I actually went there to the Kirtland Air Force Base with Norio Hayakawa, and we went to Thunder Scientific Laboratories where Paul Benowitz worked. And today his sons work there still, I believe. And we were going around the perimeter of Kirtland Air Force Base, and we ended up over by Coyote Canyon, where Paul Benowitz had been seeing UFOs, and he had been receiving transmissions which he felt were alien transmissions coming from the direction of Coyote Canyon, but extending all the way north to the Dulce area of New Mexico. So at that point, Kirtland Air Force Base really took an interest in the writings, the letters that Paul Benowitz was sending to them because of what he was discovering. So at that point, that's when Richard C. Doty came into the picture. He started feeding him misinformation, and ultimately, and sadly, Benowitz fell apart. He definitely deteriorated and fell into a state of paranoia. He was hospitalized and then he passed away. For anybody that wants to know the factual information on this, Norio Hayakawa has a blog, and he wrote about this, and it's incredible because it's very, very factual, and it talks about how this whole relationship formed, and it ultimately ended up with Benowitz being looked at as crazy and him passing away as a result of his own paranoia and sickness because of the paranoia.
And Doty, they did a few things that I think Doty should be in jail. That's the first thing. I really do. But you don't go into a man's house who you're messing with and move his furniture around, right?
Right. They really
did that. They really did that. Right? And they know they got him on the edge, and they know they want to continue to mess with him. And then they go in his house and move his furniture around because they think it's a funny joke,
right?
And they knew that he was, there was a couple of things. Benowitz knew that his eyes and his ears weren't deceiving him. And he knew that his camera wasn't deceiving him. He had took a lot of pictures of this. He had a trunk full of photographs. And so he had that, right? And he had his mind. And Doty says, you know what, man? They're real. Okay, so check this out. Here's some documents. Right? So messing with his head. And then it turns around and says, you know what? It's all fake.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Benowitz doesn't know what to believe anymore.
I would like to blow your audience away with a little bit of information that not that many people are privy to. I was at the ASPE organization in Taos, New Mexico, with my research partner from MUFON at the time, Rick Prestel, and we had a sit down with the chief of police from one of the neighboring American Indian communities. And this guy was a police officer in Dulce some 11 years before, or for 11 years, and I think this was back in the 90s or the 2000s. I can't recall at the moment. But this is the interesting part of the story. And this is how we know Paul Benowitz wasn't crazy. This chief of police, right now, currently, he is a chief of police to this day, but back at the time, he was a police officer. On one evening, him and his partner were out on patrol in Dulce, in the town of Dulce, and they saw this light, this light phenomena happening on the columnar basalt, which is the face of the Archuleta Mesa. And they saw what appeared to at first look like a bubble emanating from the side of the columnar basalt, the face of the columnar basalt. And then they realized it was a teardrop-shaped craft, like a UFO. And it started flying towards them, and they started flashing their lights at it, the big, powerful police flashlights. So this thing started approaching them, and then once it started approaching them, they realized they were not as brave as they were initially because it started toying with them. It got so close that they could see a gray alien piloting this teardrop-shaped craft, and guess what? It had a fluorescent colored lighting system somewhere between lavender and violet. And that's an important thing, too, and we'll get back to that later. this guy told me this information. He was giving me his testimony in front of Janet Saylor from the ASPE organization, Rick Prestel, who was with MUFON at the time, myself, just being an independent researcher, and his 2 adult children. You're not going to make up a story and lie in front of your children to researchers. You're not going to do it. I mean, who's going to lie in front of their adult children? This was a very, very captivating moment for me as a researcher, because this guy was sketching for us, and to this day he wants to remain anonymous. But this is where it gets interesting. About a year and a half prior to that, Mel Fabregas from Veritas Radio had sent me a PDF of it was scans of documents that he had received from an estate sale that were the handwritten notes of Paul Benowitz.
Shut up.
Some 33 years earlier, in his notes, Paul Benowitz had drawn a teardrop-shaped craft and described a lighted system emanating from the cabin with a gray alien that he had seen. Only Rick Prestel and myself, and outside of Mel Fabregas, we were the only ones that knew about that. So when the chief of police started telling us about this, our jaws hit the table.
Wow.
And we were like, no, this is incredible. So that night, we're with Janet Saylor, and we tell her in private, because we didn't tell the chief of police at that time what we had known. Well, I pulled up on my laptop the estate sale documents, and it was enlightenment. It was the first time for me, outside of vetting the colonel privately, that this was making sense. That this police officer from the Dulce Jicarea Apache Police Department had seen a UFO. He didn't even know who Paul Benowitz was.
Right.
Yet he described the same exact UFO with a gray alien, same colored lighting system. And I mentioned the lighting system repeatedly because I had a conversation with Bill Burns from UFO Hunters back in, I think, 2013, 2012. And we were talking about my personal experiences, and he pointed out to me 1965 Rex Heflin in I believe Santa Ana, California.
Santa Ana, yep.
Mm-hmm. That he had the famous UFO pictures that he took on Maynard Road, that stretch of road. And there's a lot of controversy around that, but he told me, and this is recorded on a radio show that we were doing at the time when we were having this conversation, that the men that had come to interview him, these were men in black. They had a vehicle, standard government issued vehicle, black interior, black exterior. That when these guys showed up, the interior of that car was lit up with a fluorescent lavender color.
What is it about lavender?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know, but it seems to be a commonality amongst a lot of these famous UFO stories and a lot of the personal stories that are emerging as a result of disclosure from the general populace.
Right. Yeah, the Rex Heflin case still, to me, to this day, when people ask me about, my favorite cases, I bring up Rex Heflin every time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, the photographs stand on their own. They're Polaroids. He was just a contract county employee,
mm-hmm.
just a guy. And to, obviously no Photoshop, but to go and try to hoax something like that back then.
That would have been very difficult.
Oh, man, and then one of the first Men in Black stories ever came from Rex Heflin.
Mm-hmm.
And they confiscated those photographs, and he got them back years later. And it's, and that part of the story is all true. Right. They really did take the photographs. So.
And he didn't seek fame. It wasn't until he retold the story to a couple of coworkers that they went haywire with the story. He wasn't seeking fame. He didn't even want people to know about it.
Right. I know where those photographs are, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. They're right here in Pasadena, California, locked up in a box over at a friend's house.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll tell you more about that later. Okay, so back to Benowitz. So the Dulce story, I mean, the Dulce, I don't know if I want to call it an enigma or the urban legend, but it goes back to the Apache Indians. We don't know how long ago, but the cavern system was there. The people of Dulce, New Mexico, and Norio has told me about this as well. Everybody is acclimated and knows the story. It is, you know what I mean? It's just something that has been going on.
In 2011, nobody wanted to talk. In 2012, nobody wanted to talk. So I kind of gave up. I had a few people, but not many people. Something amazing happened this past year, Jimmy. I was asked to be one of the keynote speakers along with Linda Moulton Howe and Greg Valdez, who's the son of Gabe Valdez, the Albuquerque, New Mexico police, or the New Mexico police state, New police officer, state police officer, New Mexico state police officer. When I got there, I ended up having some conversations with some of the tribal elders, and they told me, whatever you want to know, now's the time to ask. And I'm like, why? This because they have these cyclical patterns in their culture, the Hickory Apache culture. This year, 2016, just happens to be one of the years of sharing and truth. Everybody was talking. Everybody was coming forward eagerly, telling us about what they experienced, what they've seen. And I walked away with enough information for another book that would blow everybody away. We're talking about separate families who don't even know each other, who I spoke with and interviewed, who were telling me about hearing traffic beneath their home at like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, what do you mean traffic? It's like, traffic. We hear traffic beneath our homes.
Like tunnels?
Like tunnels with vehicles, traffic.
Right.
It's ridiculous. Some of the things that these people have told me, and I am so thankful that I was asked to be a speaker this past year. This was in May. And, we met up with Linda, and we were up till... Man, Linda outlasts everybody.
Yeah, she does. I don't know how she does it. I don't.
We were there till 2 o'clock in the morning talking with everybody until there was nobody except us. And so much information came out this year, and it will not happen again for a while. I don't know when the next cycle is going to be, but somebody once famously said, how come the Apache, how come you guys never tell anybody anything? It's because they said, well, because nobody asked. So when you do ask and you don't get any information, it's because it's got to be during the right year, during the right time, this cycle, this cultural cycle. And this year we learned a lot. We learned about families who were suffering from sleep paralysis in the middle of the night, but being fully awake, awakened to see gray aliens standing at the foot of their bed talking with them.
I want to, as you hear this, and I want the audience to be clear on a couple of things. You keep mentioning contractors. Who is the company for the contractors that is operating the Dulce base?
Well, there are a lot of companies there that are working as part of a general services agreement. To work with even on black budget projects, you have to work within certain bureaucratic boundaries in order to get money from the government, whether it's black money or public money through transparency. The companies that are there are like IBM, URS. There's a whole bunch of different contractors there. URS Corp, which was Phil Schneider, which was affiliated with. But I don't have the list in front of me, but it's a long list. And it's in my book, UFO Highway.
Yeah, well, what comes to mind here is somebody like Dick Cheney and Blackwater and Wackenhut and EG&G and these companies that are associated with black budget projects and Area 51 and S4. There has to be an infrastructure in place and one that could be run in a clandestine way. Is it Blackwater? Is it Wackenhut? Is it EG&G?
Maybe at some other facilities like Raven Rock, Mount Weather, Mount Pony. But at Dulce, the companies there were, I know IBM was one of them, URS Corp, the Rand Corporation, groups working, Bechtel, definitely Bechtel, General Dynamics, a lot of them on federal contracts with the Department of Energy.
Interesting.
Yes.
And
yes.
now, and the other connection that I think is direct, that must be there, is Sandia, which is right there at Kirkland and Albuquerque, and is a stone's throw away from Dulce, and their research with the mind and so forth. Is there a direct connection with Sandia with Dulce?
There's a direct connection. As a matter of fact, there's a company called, well, they used to be called Hyperion. And Hyperion created these micronuclear reactors, these small micronuclear reactors. And this is a discovery we made after the book UFO Highway was put out. They changed their name, and we started getting pressure from them to stop looking into their business, because we found out that they were working under this umbrella called the Technological Commercialization Office right out of Los Alamos. And what they were doing was selling technology that came from the Greys. If you read the book UFO Highway, in one of the sections, the colonel describes these micronuclear reactors that are like no larger than the size of a VW Bug that can power a city like Chicago for a whole year, right?
Right.
So powering the facility, it lasts decades because the facility is not the size of a city. Well, Hyperion, it's funny when you look at who is Hyperion. The people that are in charge of this company, the board of directors, they're all connected with royalty, the nuclear sector, the international banking sector. These are, a lot of them are I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but a lot of them are Freemasons. This is a really shifty company, and they only sell their technology to offshore drilling and mining companies and foreign militaries. Why won't they sell to the United States?
Right.
What's wrong with our public sector?
Yes. Yeah.
So strange. And now they changed their name to Gen 4 Energy. Oh, we really found out a lot about them.
What'd you find out about Gen 4?
Lady Barbara Judge was awarded a title from the Queen of England. I think this was back in 2010. Commander of the, I don't remember what the title was. It was ridiculous. These people are all connected. And it's oh my God, Jimmy, this is what's so strange about that company. They have 4 offices. They have an office in Denver, Colorado, which is right near the massive airport, the Illuminati airport.
Right.
They have offices in Los Alamos, and then they have offices in Virginia and in London. It just screams, hey, we are the CIA Illuminati division of micronuclear reactor providers.
Now, with Benowitz, with Schneider, with Norio's research, with yours, Linda Moulton Howe's, we can throw in the cattle mutilations and the other stuff that has gone on across the state of New Mexico. Of course, we have Roswell, too, as well. You can throw that in the mix. You have Los Alamos and you have White Sands. Something is going on in New Mexico. Why is it New Mexico? Is it because of Dulce and a direct alien connection, or is there something else?
Well, I think that we see a pattern of incidents that have occurred, especially since the 40s, because of our atomic energy programs. You know, when we started sending out signals to whomever, by blasting these nuclear bombs, right?
Right.
Atomic weapons. It's no coincidence that at the same time we started getting all these UFO crash retrievals. If you look at the advancement in technology from that time period to now, It's been exponential.
Yeah, there's a pattern developing here. And we have exactly. And we have the exact same situation going on in Las Vegas with Area 51 and S4 and the nuclear testing that went on there, continuously. And the same alien connections. It's the same pattern developing in both areas.
Mm-hmm. By the way, the colonel had said that the companies that were in charge there at the facility, there was two, was Bechtel and Rand, and the other companies that were working beneath them were Applied Molecular Genetics, URS Corp, Raytheon, and IBM.
And you know what's funny? Rand Corporation, one of their divisions is in Santa Monica. Have you been by there?
I may have.
Okay.
I may have.
It's right there. It's right off of Pacific and PCH Pacific, and I'm trying to think of that cross street that's coming down, but it's right there in the middle of Santa Monica. Rand Corporation, and it's one of the craziest, most intimidating buildings ever, and it's right in the middle of Santa Monica. And I just wonder the crazy thoughts that are going on right now behind those walls. Rand is one of the craziest things that we have in this country.
Right.
Absolutely. Now, when we come back, do you want to take some phone calls, by the way?
Sure.
Okay, our phone lines have been pinging all night long, but I've been ignoring them because I haven't officially opened up the phone lines. We're going to do that after the break. Now, what do you think about the research that Linda has been doing over the years with cattle mutilations? Do you think that all of this, because she stumbled upon this before all of the revelations of Dulcie started to surface, is there a direct connection?
Direct connection. It's amazing the work that she has done. A lot of people don't realize this, but almost 90% of the work that the Greys do there at the Dulce facility has to do with let's see here. It's the extraction of proteins from transgenic mice, and prior to that, it was cattle. So there's no surprise that there's these cattle mutilations that have occurred across the region. I met with Edmund Gomez, who was part of one of the cattle families who essentially went out of, left the cattle business because of the high number of cattle that were being mutilated. I mean, so this is a lot of money that they would lose as a result of these cattle mutilations. But yes, there's so much information that Linda has that correlates exactly with what information was provided to me in the book UFO Highway.
Let's take a break right here, Anthony. When we come back, I'm going to open up the phone lines. Our guest tonight, Anthony F. Sanchez. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Anthony at Anthony F. Sanchez on Twitter. I'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you tired of brown rust stains on your toilets, sinks, and clothes? Does your water smell and taste bad? Don't live with these problems anymore. HydroCare's revolutionary well water systems, available at Wave Home Solutions, gives you clean, healthy, great-tasting water from every faucet. They remove iron, hydrogen sulfide, sediment, and many other contaminants that are distasteful and damaging your fixtures. You'll be amazed how fresh and clean well water can be. Satisfaction guaranteed. Go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Fate or not, things are never what they seem. For the past century, forbidden subjects such as UFOs, backward engineering, human abductions, secret space programs, underground bases, suppressed free energy devices, and other fantastic notions have tested the human mind, forcing it to decipher fact from fiction. Chronicling what he calls the alternative narrative, author Brad Olson gets down to the middle of it all in his best-selling book, Future Esoteric, now released in a second edition by CCC Publishing. And now, you can get Future Esoteric at a special price, plus another free book by just using the promo code Jimmy when you check out. Just click on the Future Esoteric or CCC Publishing banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Teppy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. Week one of our Pure UFO Week is almost over. Our guest tonight, Anthony Sanchez, Anthony F. Sanchez. Next week, Monday, Ruben Langdon is going to be here live in the studio. Tuesday, Tom DeLong will be with us. And then, of course, Wednesday night, Linda Moulton Howe. I'm opening up the phone lines, 323-825-5045. Let's go straight to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. You're live. Okay, you're not live. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Well, hi, that was it. Good evening. Anthony.
Yes, sir.
I grew up in the Bay Area, and, the experiences you had, you're a couple of years younger than me, but I wonder, there's so many things I could ask you, but do you think there are connections between an experiencer like you and maybe knowing things that you wouldn't have known otherwise from other areas? For example,
Dino, quickly. I've got 20 phone calls lined up.
Understood. For example, I heard that around Bolinas, California, in Marin County, not far from you, that about the time you had your experiences, that people were seeing craft above the electrical RCA stations by the ocean there at Bolinas.
Right. What's your name again?
Dino.
Dino, I got to tell you something. You just blew me away. In 2009, I was sent to Bolinas, California by one of my top clients who I was afraid of losing as a client. I had 30 offices up and down the state of California with this guy, and he forced me to go. This guy is former Air Force. He was a psychiatrist in the Air Force. He owns one of the largest companies in the state of California, medical companies. I don't know why he was forcing me to go to this mansion in Bolinas, California. When I got there, I ended up staying in a bungalow as part of this retreat. It was like a mindfulness meditation thing. I met this mother and daughter who were staying in the bungalow with me, and this woman comes up to me and she says, I know who you are. You're Anthony Sanchez, and so and so sent me here, sent you here because you need to meet with me. And I didn't know what she was getting at. She said to me, a year ago, my husband said that they had at a party that they had successfully launched nanosatellites into low Earth orbit. A week later, he went missing.
Wow!
And the guy that got me in touch with the colonel is the guy that worked at Lockheed Martin at Moffett Field. It's part of this company that was in this project called Leonid, which stands for Low Earth Orbit Nanosatellite Interceptor Defense. This is crazy because that the guy would mention Bolinas on the phone, because right now I got the chills all over my body because Bolinas holds a very special place for me, and now I'm fucking freaking out. Sorry for language.
No, it is.
All right.
It is a place that has had strange things. They tear down the signs. They don't like people going there. Supposedly an enclave for writers and artists, but strange things have happened there.
Yeah,
I wrote a poem there. My girlfriend would know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the only poem I've ever written.
Thank you for the phone call, Dino.
Okay.
Great question. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Hi, it's Eric. How you doing, Anthony?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Hey, I was born and raised in San Jose. Do you have any family in the Campbell, Los Gatos area by chance? Because I knew some Sanchez's there. How about your age?
You know, I actually lived on Winchester and Hamilton during during my teenage years, and I worked at the 7-Eleven right on the corner where.
There's a lot of Sanchez. Did you have any Jimmy Sanchez's that were in your family? A Jimmy Sanchez that went to Rolling Hill?
No, because my family was actually from East San Jose. And I moved there when my mom and dad separated, and I ended up going to Blackford High for a little bit before I dropped out and went straight to San Jose City College.
You're talking Tully Road, right? East San Jose, McLaughlin?
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, more King and Story.
Oh, God, yes.
The real bad part, yeah.
Well, hey, a quick story I wanted to share with you, and then I want to get your opinion. I met this Indian shaman, and I met Jimmy at the Alien Snowfest in February this year, and it was with Linda Howe and this Indian shaman who lives in Dulce, New Mexico. His family has a ranch that's right near the base there, and he told us a story one time where he saw a craft that was hovering around the base of the mountain one night or one afternoon, and then he watched the craft actually go into the river, and it did not come out. And it took a while to get him to share that story with us, but he offered to let me come and stay at his ranch with his family, and I'm just wondering if you had that opportunity. You think it would be a good idea for me to maybe take him up on that, or I might be crazy to even consider it?
I would do it right now because this is the year of truth and disclosure for the tribe. And the Hickory Apache Nation, they're not very forthcoming with these personal stories outside of times like this, so I would take advantage of it right now.
Yeah, and then is there a way we can reach you by email or something like that if I wanted to communicate with you?
Yes, Anthony at UFOhighway.com.
There you go,
okay,
Eric.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you, man. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Hey, Jimmy, this is Captain. How are you, sir?
Hey, Captain, how are you? Say hi to Anthony Sanchez.
Anthony F. Sanchez.
Yes, Anthony F. Sanchez.
Hi, Captain.
Okay, Anthony, listen. I understand that President Obama is going to China, and he's going for the financial summit in China, and that's in September 2nd. I understand that President Putin is going to be there, and, of course, President Xi of China. I understand that all three presidents are meeting of the minds to get disclosure discussed among the world's population. What do you think about that?
Well, there's a couple things that's weird about that. Yesterday, BBC News announced that Angela Merkel, who's the Chancellor of Germany, had sent out an official message to the entire country, all German citizens, asking them to save food and water enough for 10 days and as much cash as they can in the event of a national catastrophe. And also, China is very interesting because we know that, China has over 3,500 miles of underground tunnels and facilities that are state-of-the-art living facilities that I was told about weeks ahead of Professor Philip Carver, and his Agent Arms Control students this is a whole program that prompted a congressional hearing. I went on Mel Fabregas' show, Jerry Pippen's show, and I told everybody about these underground facilities in China, their alien connection, the fact that they're they're electronically grounded and magnetically shielded, essentially living state-of-the-art Faraday cages with that. It's kind of like, think of like that movie 2012 with these arcs, where it's going to cost you $1 billion to get a trip onto one of the arcs. Same type, similar scenarios playing out in China right now with these facilities. So it's not surprising that all three presidents would be there in some bogus financial summit.
I totally agree with that, Anthony, because this is a year of disclosure. You're absolutely right. A lot of things are getting ready to happen. President Obama just last week was on Air Force One, coming into I think, I have no idea where he was traveling to, but a UFO was escorted by Air Force One. What do you think about that?
Wouldn't it be the first time that the government has had interaction with UFOs? I mean, in my book, that's what we talk about at the very beginning in the interview. So a lot of that has happened, but I don't know what to make of it right now.
Yeah, Captain, you need to get the book UFO Highway. It's a true page turner. Yeah.
Okay, well, very good. Well, thank you very much, Jimmy, and thank you, Anthony F. Sanchez.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
What do you think about when we talk about the year of disclosure? I mean, disclosure is a word that I think has been a little run in the ground,
Right.
but it's certainly I don't ever remember in my years growing up this much conversation with sitting presidents, ex-presidents, presidential candidates. Talk shows.
It gets kind of comical at times, Jimmy. Like for instance, with Hillary, teasing about, like trying to win over that audience of believers in the alien UFO phenomena when she went on one of the talk shows and said, I don't know, I might, she saw that it was a popular topic of discussion between Jimmy Kimmel and Obama, Jimmy Kimmel and, or Jimmy Fallon and President Clinton. It's kind of comical now. But you have to ask, have we been indoctrinated over the last 3 decades? Are we being prepped for some type of mass disclosure event? Because they almost seem too comfortable with the fact. We have movies like Independence Day. And if you go back to the 70s, Encounters of the Third Kind. And it just makes you wonder, has society gone through this phase unknowingly of indoctrination into this mode where disclosure is not going to freak everybody out?
Yeah.
Did they do that on purpose?
I'm totally with you. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Hey, Jimmy and Anthony. This is Josh,
Josh.
from Texas. I was calling. I was just curious. I was wondering how your health's doing.
Right. Jimmy, what he's referring to is when I went to the Archuleta Mesa with my research partner and good friend Rick Prestel, we went up to the top of the mesa with a guide who was an ex-police officer of the Hickory Apache Police Department. Within 48 hours of that, I was hospitalized, and I was paralyzed from my left shoulder all the way to the top of my head and my face on the left side. It was really disturbing. If you look for a video with me, Kerry Cassidy, and Jay Widener, you can see my face. It's really disturbing. I had no feeling in my shoulder, my neck, my face, and the top of your head. It's the weirdest sensation when you go paralyzed. And I had these burning nerve pains and from my chest up, and it was a result of, I was exposed to some type of neurotoxin.
Wow.
Yeah, I went to Sutter Medical, UC Davis Medical, and they could not and still cannot identify what it was that I was exposed to. Kerry Cassidy got me in touch with this guy from Australian intelligence who knew exactly what was wrong with me. And he said that I was exposed to the toxin from the pufferfish and this plant, the South American plant, which was supposed to kill me. And it was a microdosage, but I'm 6'3", 6'4", over 300 pounds. And I guess I was large enough to withstand the microdosage that they gave me.
And Josh, thank you for the phone call. Great phone call, my brother. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Hi, this is Ken. Is it me?
Yeah, I got you, but you're breaking up.
Jimmy, I love your show. This is Ken from Irvine, and I just wanted to call and say one of my favorite studies that I've heard from Mr. Sanchez was the one he did with the Shroud of Turin. I'm a late comer to you, Mr. Sanchez, but I just found that one fascinating.
Right, that was with Dr. Nigel Kerner. That was with Nigel Kerner. Yeah, it was a great show that I had done years ago, and it was on the Shroud of Turin, and I'm going to be making that available through Facebook eventually so that everybody can hear it. Thank you for bringing that up. It was a great show.
Thank you for the
thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black.
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
You're live. Who's calling?
This is Alexi from Santa Monica. I'd like to talk to you about Mirage Men and Chris Doty. Have you seen that film?
Of course we have. I've had the directors on that shot the film, Mark Pilkington.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your thought on that? And in correlation to UFOs in general? I mean, how do you discern anything going on?
Well, that's exactly the point, and that's exactly. Yeah. And what was your name again?
Alexi from Marina Del Rey.
Yeah, Alexi, thank you for the phone call. And now, Anthony, my point with Mirage Men, this is out of everything that I got out of that film, was Richard Doty's non-guilt vibe. Right?
Like he really didn't care. It was his job. He was told to do that. We're talking about former individuals working for the government, talking about their involvement. And it goes back to indoctrinating. Were they creating this UFO mythology to indoctrinate all of us? Were they, or were they? It's so confusing to me. It's ridiculous that you have people like Richard C. Doty who are willing to destroy people's lives, ruin lives, bring down families, hurt people, on behalf of the government.
And not apologize for it, and not to feel sorry, and just to say that I was doing my job.
Right.
I've got his phone number right here, right? And I have been so tempted. I almost brought him on the show. And the reason why I didn't was I guest our guest on this show. They're guests, like a guest in my home. And I need to show them respect.
Right.
I just wouldn't go there with him. I'm angry at Doty for what he has done. And it's just not cool. And that's what I got out of Mirage Men. It was just one of the most it was a documentary that needed to be made. And Pilkington, oddly enough, when he was putting that film together, I don't know if you know this, but Mark told me that he bumped into Doty. That's how Doty got in the film. He went to the conference there in Laughlin. Doty's sitting in the back, as an observer. And he sees him, and he goes, dude, you want to come on the film? We have questions for you. But that's how Doty got in the film. They were already making the movie. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, Doty. Ugh. Wow. Dirty man. Okay.
You're friends with Richard Dolan. I mean, what's his take on Mirage Men?
I think that everybody, I've spoken to everybody about the film, including Linda, and she's remarkable in the film.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's take is the same thing, that when it comes to disinfo, I mean, pure, real, no joke disinfo on this subject, there's no question that it happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I speak about this, when somebody goes, well, man, why would the government do this, man? Why would they go and mess with people's lives? I go, dude, Paul Benowitz, that really happened. And the fact that there is out of OSI and out of for the Air Force to say that they have no interest in UFOs, and they turn around and do this with Benowitz in Albuquerque, what more proof do you need than not only a general interest in UFOs, but a disinfo campaign to pollute the way the public looks at this?
Right. One of the things angering me right now is that according to a lot of the latest investigative reports and books by some so-called UFO experts, that Paul Benowitz didn't see anything. He was intercepting nothing outside of normal radio chatter from ongoing classified projects, that he was being fed disinformation. Yet, some 30 years later, a police officer recounted a craft, remember what I told you, of identical build, the same lighting in the cockpit, where a gray alien could be seen part of the craft. How could these two people that don't know each other with a span of 3 decades, corroborate one another's, experience? You got to remember, I always tell people this at the end of my presentations that I give. Disinformation is roughly 10% disinformation and 90% truth.
That's it. Yeah, that's exactly it. And when I look back and I think about some of the things that I've seen over the years, and certainly this mass sighting over at Contact in the desert, which I was a part of. Mm-hmm. So I'm there. I witnessed these things. And so when Benowitz talks about what he is seeing out there, I know that he's seeing something. I know this because I've seen it myself, and I'm not crazy, I don't think. And Benowitz happened to have the courage to turn around and contact Kirkland because he thought something was going on. And then the degradation of his mind started from there.
Right.
But he came from a sane place. He knew what he was seeing. I know what I have seen. And if somebody would have come to me from the Air Force, which they haven't, by the way, if somebody would come to me from the Air Force and start presenting me with documentation, like they did with Linda Moulton Howe, she was right in the middle of this whole Benowitz situation, too, as well. She was taken to Kirkland. She was, and well, anyway, not to get into that part. But if somebody.
I've had people from AFOSI here at Beale Air Force Base come visit me and harass me. Asking me what was I doing, on the perimeter of their base on a specific evening. I've had things like that happen. I went there in an unmarked car. I had a brand new car at the time with no plates. And a friend of mine said it's probably because my cell phone was on. I said, well, I'm not stupid. I took the battery out of my cell phone. I was 2 miles away from the base. Somebody told me that something was going to be landing there. It was the X-37B. I knew because I was told to be there. Sure enough, it landed. And then within 48 hours, I had a visit from 2 people who said they were from AFOSI. It's funny because 24 hours after that, I was doing an interview for Open Minds in Arizona. And I was terrified. And if you ever see that interview, I couldn't sit through it.
Oh, you with Alejandro.
No, not with Alejandro. With Michael Schratt.
Oh, yeah, with Schratt. Okay. Yeah, I had.
And it's funny you mention Alejandro because he doesn't believe a word I say. He doesn't believe in the provenance of my story. It's kind of strange. And I had a conversation with John Rail, who's the owner of Open Minds. And he told me not to worry about it. He said, not everybody likes Alejandro. So I'm like, it's not that I don't like the guy. It's just that he doesn't believe me. Whatever, I'm not in the business of defending myself anymore.
Yeah. Well, look, Alejandro and minds like his, I respect Alejandro. I really do.
Sure, I do too. He's great. He's a great researcher.
Great researcher. And quite frankly, we need skeptics out there. We need people to call BS.
People freak out when they found out that it was Norio Hayakawa who wrote the foreword to my book, because he's one of the most skeptical people when it comes to Dulce or the whole UFO phenomena now. He's completely, metamorphosized into this new persona where he's like, he doesn't buy the conspiracy theories. And you know what? I have a great respect for Norio, and I hold him in the highest regard. He's an incredible human being, and he will always be my friend. It's just that, not everybody agrees on everything. And Bill Burns, we had a conversation, and I said to him, half the people know me, the other half don't know me, and then the rest all hate me. And he goes, welcome to ufology.
Yeah, no joke. and Norio, when I was watching him mess with everybody a couple of years ago. He was going back and forth with these crazy posts, and one of them was something like, I'm going to paraphrase here, but I've been a disinfo agent. I've been part of this thing, and I've been feeding all of you guys lies, and there you go. And he just did that to get everybody's reactions, and he got one out of me. I called him. I was like, dude, what's going on? He's like, hey, man, I'm just messing around, man. I'm like, dude. And then he comes back with, okay, this is real. And Norio is a true skeptic, but the thing is about Norio is he has been there. He was at Area 51 back in the day.
People don't know that.
No, they don't. They don't know that about Norio. Norio's the guy that got that stuff on Japanese television and brought Nippon into it, and he was at the center of everything. Him and Wolf McCarran and Lazar. There was a certain group of people that were there at Area 51 in the beginning, and Norio Hayakawa is one of those guys. So
he lives in Rio Rancho today, but at the time, way back in the late 80s, early 90s, he was in Los Angeles.
Yep.
And then he organized a lot at the Little Alien in Rachel. He organized a lot of the first ever conferences on Area 51, and he brought attention to it. A lot of people don't know that. I give Norio credit in my book for that, because if it weren't for Norio, I probably would not have become a researcher, period.
And so where are you going to go with your career now? Are you back in it? Are you with us?
Yes, I am. I got another couple of books coming out. I have a book on Project Leonid coming out, and I have another book on which I call Origin Theory. It's a book called The Alien-Human Hybrid: Examination of the Anunnaki Bloodlines, the Greys, and the Creation of Modern Human. And you can get a preview of that in UFO Highway, because I have a Human Origins a section in the book which has nothing to do with Dulce. Well, it does sort of. So yeah, I got some other books coming out, and I'm probably going to do some work with Brad Olson. He and I had an interesting conversation at the conference, and I'm probably going to head in that direction, because Brad's a pretty awesome dude. If I can, really quickly, Jimmy, I'd like to let people know that in September 16th, I'm going to be speaking for the MUFON group in Sedona, Arizona.
Right.
And then the following month, on October 28th and through the 30th, in Santa Clara, I'm going to be at Alien Con. I'm going to have a table in the artist gallery area. I tried to get on a panel, but apparently I don't know anything. So.
I'll see what I can do about that.
I'd love to be on a panel at Alien Con.
I'll see what I can do about that. But listen, I'm going to actually ask you to hang on for a little overtime, because I want to talk. I want to talk a little ghost and paranormal. There's another side to you that most people don't know about, and I want to talk about that and get back into software. You know where I'm going.
Yes,
the audience doesn't. So let's take a break right here, and I'm going to steal you for like an extra 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Our guest tonight, Anthony F. Sanchez. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA. The Planet. I'll be right back. We're going to do a little overtime with Anthony F. Sanchez. Stay right there.
Go back, Cletepi.
Yeah, go back, Cletepi.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out! That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-618-WAVE, 888-618-WAVE, or visit mydryhome.com. mydryhome.com.
Ride the wave.
Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRAradio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Anthony F. Sanchez. I want to remind everybody that I will be over hosting Coast to Coast all weekend this weekend. Friday night, my guest will be Captain Randy Kramer. And on Saturday, I'm going to have Margot Matreas and Lori McDonald will be my guests on Saturday. So Fade to Black will continue through the week. No rest for the wicked. I'll be over at Coast for the weekend. Now, Anthony, you have some paranormal software. Tell us about that.
I own a company called GhostHunterApps.com, and I believe I'm the only software engineer in the world who is developing software based on 3 things. 1, advanced mathematics, 2, scientific principles, and 3, real use of the embedded technologies of the devices that people are using the apps on, like tablets, laptops, and PCs, and now phones. I'm about to launch a store in Apple and the Google Play because people have been asking me for years now to make it available for phones because I've only made it available for the Windows platform. I use Bluetooth technology. People don't know this, but I didn't set out to develop ghost hunting software. I set out to develop alien scanning software. In 2011, I wrote a prototype application that allowed me to scan the ultra-high frequency, which is radio. It's real radio waves, except that on the ultra-high frequency, UHF, there are no stations, so you're not going to hear people talking. You're not going to hear music. That's reserved for industrial, scientific, and medical data transmission, wireless data transmissions. I had this crazy idea, Jimmy. What if I wrote an app that can give me pre-recorded carrier signals in the tens of thousands as individual, audio samples that can allow me to recognize pattern recognitions. And I would go out to places like Area 51, run my app, my software with Bluetooth, like by the camo dudes, right?
Right.
I would literally have a police scanner in one hand and I have my software, and I would listen for pattern recognition, for these patterns to emerge. And I thought, maybe, is it possible, like with Paul Benowitz, can I pick up on alien communication coming from places like Area 51, Edwards Air Force Base? And a year after that, I met up with Bill Murphy from the Sci-Fi Network, Fact or Fake Paranormal Files, which was a television show at the time. And he had a conference in Santa Paula, California, at this place called the Glen Tavern Inn. It was his GhostTown.tv event that he was having. And I told them about my software, and these guys were like, well, what is it doing actually? I said, well, it scans the UHF and it looks for radio disturbances, electromagnetic frequencies, electromagnetic interference, which is the same exact thing as radio interference. And they had these things called these K2 meters. And I said, well, it does exactly what your K2 meter is doing. It's software based, and you could use it on a laptop or a tablet, a Windows tablet. And that's how GhostHunterApps.com was born. They said you can make Ghost Hunter software with that technology.
Okay. Explain the process again, because I've got an audio background, as you know, and I'm listening. So you're trying to in real time. You're matching waveforms. Am I understanding this correctly?
Some of the applications have audio spectrograms, but no. What we're doing is we have these audio banks. Like, for instance, I have an app called the GB1, the Ghostbox One. It has over 11,000 MP3 files. Now, they're pre-recorded audio files of what we call phonemes, which are parts of the English sound, like ba, ka, la, fa, ma, da. It's what makes up the English vernacular at a phonetic level. In addition to that, we have pre-recorded carrier files, sounds from radio, and I have this application that chops them up into little tiny pieces. That's why we end up with like thousands of them. In the GB1, there's 11,000. I divide those number of audio files by the known frequencies in the UHF spectrum. And what I do is I come up with a matrix or an array from 0 to, for instance, in this particular instance, 131. From 0 to 131, I know that 0, my program, every 500 milliseconds, programmatically draws a sine wave. If the sine wave comes back within expected parameters, I know that nothing happened on that particular frequency. So it's the frequency plus the signal strength. Now, if the sine wave on that frequency comes back really augmented, really anomalous in its patterns outside expected parameters, I know that there was electromagnetic interference. And I'm able to judge the strength based on repeated cycles of the frequency. I have to develop what's called a baseline initially, and then work from that point with all the augmented signals. Now, the UHF goes from 2.4 from 2.4 to 2.485 gigahertz. So I have all these frequencies. There's 3 reserved, so we end up with something like 79 frequencies, and we're able to tell if something is happening from the pattern recognition. And it happens in this way. Each MP3 file has a GUI ID, which is a 128-bit numerical identifier, alphanumeric identifier for. They're always unique. So you can have millions of them and they'd be unique. So we assign each one to each file, and then we break them up into groups by division. So each frequency has its own set of audio files. If you hear something over and over, that means that frequency at that signal strength is being affected by radio frequency interference or electromagnetic interference. So we have essentially, through software and Bluetooth radio on UHF, have invented a way to detect radio interference.
And does it work?
I have been to many so-called haunted locations where the software goes haywire, and we hear sentences in repeated form, like "get out" or the angels are singing. I mean, the weirdest things. I mean, I work with Steve Huff. I met Steve Huff because of this company. Steve Huff from Huff Paranormal. He's like the world's preeminent ITC expert. That stands for instrumental transcommunication. And this guy is like a spirit magnet. He was before the software, and now with the software, it's gone to a whole nother level. I get scared. I don't even like running the stuff in my own home because I feel like I can attract negative entities, whether they're alien or ghosts. And either way, I don't like attracting the negative entities.
Yeah, who does, right? I'm totally freaked out about this. So the EVPs that are captured, is that then by chance? Is that by luck? And with yours, you can pinpoint the frequency and stay right there on top of it?
This is what's weird. The EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, when we run our software, we'll get patterns from the software, but the software will seem to affect the environment, and we'll get recorded EVPs that are not from the software. We'll hear spirits trying to talk or entities trying to communicate outside of the software. Yeah, you'll hear the software and the patterns that are occurring, but then you'll hear like a whisper or like a growling sound. And I'm not, I may be the guy that develops the software, but I am not as lucky as some of these other guys who tend to have lots of interaction and get these incredible EVPs. Jason Higgs from the UK, Steve Huff, and even Connie Willis, one of your peers on Coast to Coast.
Yep.
Connie has a tablet PC with all of my software on it, and her and Bishop James Long use my software, and they get tons of EVPs and stuff. It's scary. Bill Murphy is another one, and the Gettysburg Ghost Gals, which is this really big ghost hunting group from Gettysburg. Bridget, they're all at my site. Keith Weldon from Chill Seekers, they get amazing stuff.
Wow. And why isn't everybody using this? I mean, is there a reason why? Are you holding back? Or are you pushing forward with this? Because it seems like not the ghost hunters, not the Zach Bagans of the world. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about everybody, that could run this and check out their own house if they so desired.
They are now. I have thousands of people from around the world. Practically every inhabited continent has purchased one of my apps, and. It's kind of sad, Jimmy. I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of the people that buy this software, they're not even ghost hunters. They're people that are seeking a connection with loved ones who have passed.
Right.
And I have to be very careful as a software developer and make the intentions of the software clear to these people at what it does. And I'm very logical. As an engineer, I'm like, look, it's scanning the ultra high frequency and it's giving us these patterns that sometimes emerge and sometimes do not emerge. So it's really up to the user to make that interpretation. I don't want to break anyone's heart. There's a lot of amazing people out there, who have lost loved ones and stuff, but it works for a lot of them. It brings peace to a lot of people who have wanted to hear from a lost loved one or a friend or something. And Connie discussed that on the show that she did with Steve Huff. She's done a couple of shows with Steve Huff, and they really get to the heart of the matter. And I'm very careful when it comes to, I don't push it. I'm not trying to push it like a product at Walmart. I tell people, be careful when you buy this and make sure your intention is pure.
Yeah, and it could exactly. Could you accidentally communicate with something that you shouldn't be?
I've had incidences personally where I think I may have contacted with a demon. Like I was at this haunted cabin in Virginia City, Nevada, and on the recorder, there was a woman who said, "Anthony," over and over, and it freaked me the hell out. And you could hear the women that were with us in the other room during the time of the recording when that recorder was in my room.
Wow.
And it can get very scary at times.
Now, just like with EVPs, you don't necessarily, some you hear, audibly, you can, you hear them, but others you don't, and you need to play it back. With your device, this is in frequencies that are beyond normal human hearing. You don't necessarily hear these EVPs only when they play back.
Sometimes that is the case, and that's why I have built into many of my apps very sensitive recording mechanisms. I have apps, like I actually have an app that's called the EVP Analyzer, which gives you a 10-band precision equalizer, the ability to adjust pitch rate and tempo, and it gives you a visual audio spectrogram. Noreen Balovich, who has a show on YouTube, Paranormal Zone TV, this is like 3 years ago. She and I were running the EVP Analyzer, and we were recording it, and in the visual spectrogram, we saw upside down crucifixes and we saw faces of demons appear.
And is this in real time?
In real time, as we were talking, as we were asking questions, and we heard growling.
Now we're talking messed up, right?
Right.
That's messed up. And now also in real time, can you play back in real time?
Yes, the EVP analyzer and the Vocubus, they have breakout audio panels where you could reverse. You could play it in reverse. You could play it slowed down in reverse. Everything gets saved to an MP3 file. So all your sessions get saved. It's incredible.
How much is it?
$19.99. Every single one of my apps sells for $19.99. They used to be a lot more expensive, but the reason why is because now that I'm opening an Apple store and a Google Play store, those apps are going to be sold for $19.99, and I've decided, well, let's make our Windows apps the same exact price. They used to be $50, and we were selling thousands of them at $50. People didn't care. They were buying them. But I've lowered them to $19.99 because I just want I want everybody to be able to afford them. I don't want to, there's no reason why we should be charging $50 for something like this. $20, everybody can afford it.
And now, okay, man, my mind's blown. So these will run on cell phones too?
The ones from the Apple Store and the Google Play Store, that's going to be launched probably within 1 to 2 months. We're still developing those apps. Right now at GhostHunterApps.com and at Amazon, all those apps will run on any machine, laptop, tablet, or PC that's Windows 7 or higher.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
That's so I just want to understand clearly. On a tablet, the software will be able to detect the bands, amplify in real time, and also have a spectrometer and a real-time visual display and analysis, as well as audio playback.
Right. Exactly. It's exactly what it does.
That's unbelievable. Wow.
I wrote an app called the Ghost Cam Pro, which used to sell for $100, which has military-grade motion detection. It has thermal sensors, and it has audio waterfalls, these spectrograms that are audio waterfalls. It's incredible. I wrote that because of conversations that I had with Bill Murphy. It has unlimited USB webcams that you can attach to it, and you can have three different types of motion detection. There's fractal, bio, and I forget what the other one is, but
don't say thermal.
It's like military grade equipment for ghost hunting.
Yeah, Lisa just tweeted, she says, this is why pure intention and sobriety are so important when doing such things. That's exactly right. Anthony, thank you so much, man. Great conversation. The website's, again, UFO Highway, and where do you find the software?
GhostHunterApps.com.
Thank you so much, Anthony, and I can't wait to get you back on. Be safe out there, my brother.
It was an honor. Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Anthony F. Sanchez. Thank you so much, Anthony. Be safe. Keep rolling that rock uphill, and send me some software.
You got it, brother.
Go Beckley Teppy. All right. Thank you so much, Anthony. Anthony F. Sanchez. Again, UFOhighway.com. One of the very best, man, and what an informative conversation tonight. This is why I do this show. I've just been blown away. What a great guy. Really quick before I wrap, a couple of things I do want to comment on. Last night during the show, that earthquake hit in Norcia, Italy, and at this point, right before the show, I haven't checked during the show, but now it's up to about 160 people passed and are dead, and they are still retrieving bodies and survivors. Amatrice and Achumoli and so forth. These cities have been scenes of pure devastation. And, once, you look at these videos and these pictures, it was just, these are just charming, old, established towns that literally have been pancaked. And I was looking at aerial footage today that was released by the Italian State Police, and the devastation is just widespread. And our thoughts are with everybody over in Italy right now. Only a few structures are left standing. Most of the towns have been completely leveled, unreinforced, older concrete frame buildings, just completely vulnerable to earthquakes and something like this. And it did happen yesterday during the show. So our thoughts are with everybody over there. All right. Now, a ballistic missile was fired again from North Korea from a submarine, It flew only 310 miles. I know everybody's kind of freaking out on this. I am not. It is the longest distance achieved by North Korea so far from a submarine-fired weapon, but it's only 310 miles. But in my mind, I just wish this whole thing would come to an end, and we've just got to start shooting these things out of the sky, and it will be over once we do. Negotiators are seeking to end the 5 decades-long bloody insurgency in Colombia, and today they announced out of Cuba, out of Havana, that they have finally reached a peace deal. For nearly 4 years, representatives of the Colombian government and FARC, not FART, but FARC, the rebel group, have struggled to reach a deal that would not only end the fighting, but address the issues of land reform and families for the victims of those who have been suspected of human rights abuses. Wow, my system just cut out on me and came back. Isn't that strange? And I didn't touch anything, by the way. The landmark deal will still need to be approved by a majority of the Colombians in a countrywide referendum, and it is expected to take place in a few months. Under the agreement, FARC rank-and-file soldiers will lay down their weapons and heavy weapons, leave their jungle camps, and slowly reincorporate into Colombian society with the help of government training programs. They've announced it today. Let's just hope it comes to an end. Now, you know, FARC was being accused of, this is one of the curious things I have about this agreement, is drug trafficking and cocaine and the relationship to some of the Colombian cartels down there. And isn't it interesting that they are willing to just lay down their weapons and give up? So there's something else going on, a good thing behind the scenes, but I'm just glad that that is finally, it appears to have come to an end. I got an email from Renee before I get back to the news during the broadcast. And Renee says there was no Mandela effect in reference to the number of people in the JFK car. Now, and she goes on to say, and I totally understand where she is coming from on this, because this is what I've been trying to say, that she was 12 years old and clearly remembered the assassination, and she knows that she has seen 6 people in the car and so forth. I totally agree with you, Renee. See, the thing is, I wasn't old enough and I wasn't around back then. My thing is this, and I'm not trying to create something where there is nothing. That's not where I'm going with this, with the JFK assassination. My point is, my memory says 4 people in the car. That's it. After repeated watches of JFK, the film, and Oliver Stone, and the Zapruder film, and everything that I've seen over the years, 6 people took me by surprise. That's all that I'm trying to say. So what I want to know from people out there is, how many people do you remember in the car? If it's 6, it's 6. If it's 4, it's 4. If it's 5, if it's 2, if you know, that's all I want to know here. It's funny how our memory can change, because I'm serious. I would have taken the stand a month ago before that phone call came in to Fade to Black. I would have taken the stand and sworn on a stack of Bible that there were 4 people in that car. All right. And Renee, your point is so well taken with this email. Thank you so much. Jeffrey Williams, commander of the International Space Station, marked his 521st day in orbit earlier today, setting the record for time and space accumulated over 4 flights. That surpasses the 520-day record set by Scott Kelly, whose 1 year in the space station ended this past March. By the time Williams returns to Earth in 2 weeks, he's going to log 534 days off planet for NASA. Now, his record is not going to last long. Space Station veteran Peggy Whitson will top that after she flies up in November for a 6-month stay. She's already logged in 377 days for total space time, which is the record currently for a woman. Now, I talked about last week about Proxima Centauri, okay? I announced it last week. Well, today the official announcement happened, okay? Now, they are staging it like this. They said today, in a discovery that has been years in the making, researchers have confirmed the existence of rocky planet Proxima b orbiting Centauri. Now, it is the closest star to our sun, okay? It is the closest exoplanet to us in the universe. Given the fact that Proxima b is within the habitable zone of its star, meaning that liquid water could exist on the surface. That's the most important thing. It is the closest possible home for life outside of our solar system. Listen to me. Because of its location, the researchers hope that it provides an opportunity to attempt further characterization via ongoing searches by direct imaging and high-resolution spectrometry in the next couple of decades. But listen to me. It's not only the closest terrestrial planet found, it's probably the closest planet outside of our solar system that will ever be found, because there is no closer star to our solar system than this one. And any planet around that star is the closest to our solar system. There can't be another one found closer, okay? It is that important of a discovery. Well, I posted pictures of this earlier today. The world's largest aircraft crash landed yesterday at the end of its second test flight. All right? The 300-foot-long Airlander 10 nosedived on its return flight to an airfield north of London after spending more than an hour and a half in the air. You should see the pictures. It was a faceplant. Now, the company did not explain what caused the crash, but said that all planned tasks were completed during the flight. The pilots were unhurt. I've got to share this with you, and then I've got to get out of here. Apple has finally catching up to the practices of other Silicon Valley giants by offering a bounty system to encourage third-party security experts to find security loopholes in its system. How much are they paying? Anywhere from $25,000 to $200,000 per breach. The bounty is going to launch in September and will be invite only. This has been Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you to Anthony F. Sanchez for an absolutely dynamic conversation tonight. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Camarian. Shows produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark T. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Bateau, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication, KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2016 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer.